Leo, a jobless player, displays his frustration after his whole party was wiped out. A notification suddenly alerts him of an impending danger, but he freezes in shock after a monster of unknown species appears before him, an encounter that will change his entire destiny. Monsters started terrorizing humans after a game called Paradise Heaven merged with the real world 10 years ago. Dungeons and monsters appeared all over the world, while survivors of the dungeons came to be known as players. 2 hours ago, at the uninhabitable zone, the party leader ordered his team to collect loot from the monsters. He called out Leo and told him to pick up his pace while he acknowledged his order nervously. Leo's teammates doubted Gus' abilities, convinced that his escape from the uninhabitable zone was nothing but pure luck, annoying Leo as he overheard them. A unique uninhabitable dungeon has appeared, but no one was able to clear it yet due to its difficulty level. Leo managed to escape the dungeon and became a player, but he did not awaken a job, so he became stuck working as a guide instead. Luca, a B-rank jurist, arrived and commended everyone's hard work. He encouraged everyone to keep up the exploration. Leo informed him that they were in an ideal position after Luca asked for the status. He confirmed that they could make a killing since the area between Sotobori and the city center had only weak monsters and was rich in resources. Luca was confident to clear the B-rank dungeon as he ordered them to head for the central area. However, Leo panicked internally after learning where they were headed for and feared for his life. Luca told him to lead the way, but he hesitated. Leo displayed his terror as he warned Luca that the uninhabitable zone was no ordinary dungeon, but everyone just looked at him, while he continued to suggest that they gather information about the monsters first. An abrupt hand suddenly grabbed Leo's neck. Luca lifted him from the ground and told him to listen up, his anger displayed while telling Leo to do his job, prompting the jobless loser to beg for his life and apologize. Luca dropped him to the ground and reminded Leo that he was only getting special treatment for escaping. Leo smiled nervously and agreed to guide them, but he was already thinking of his escape, until he paused suddenly after a sword was pointed at his face. Luca threatened Leo not to do anything funny and ordered him to lead the right way. Leo trembled in fear and promised to do what he was told, while thinking how bad his situation was as Luca put his sword back. He turned around and felt disgusted after touching a jobless player. The others laughed at Leo and told him that he should know better than talking back to a B-rank player like Luca, but Leo remained determined to escape. Upon arriving at the central area, Luca noted that he could not see any difference. Silently, Leo called him stupid after they arrived at the monster's nest and made sure to make his escape once the chaos started. A B-rank monster finally appeared, their disgusting appearance displayed. The players gathered in one area as they braced for the monsters to come. Luca told everyone to calm down as he summoned a fire from his hand, undermining their enemies as B-rank that were easy to kill. Leo was shocked to see the strength of a B-rank jurist who was as strong as an A-rank. Leo felt envious until his detection ability suddenly reacted. He was certain that it was a monster and it was getting closer, prompting Leo to warn Luca that they should escape immediately. This only angered Luca until the ground started cracking. The other players were shocked, triggering Leo to freeze for a moment. The ground cracked open, which caused them to fall. Under the ground, Luca blamed Leo and suspected that he led them into a trap. An ominous figure suddenly appeared, while Leo trembled in fear as his detection ability disappeared. Luca's excitement displayed, but he promised to reprimand Leo later. The monster's giant arm crawled, asking the players if they should play, prompting them to identify her as the monster boss. A notification pops up to show their mission to kill the monster and collect the treasure. Luca unleashes a powerful fire blast, threatening to burn the monster into ashes. Leo was rendered speechless, while others were shocked after the monster suddenly vanished. Luca ordered everyone to not let their guards down without knowing that the monster was just invisible. Luca's sweat turned cold, while the monster suddenly appeared from behind and crushed the ground. The players were determined to put up a fight and called her nothing special, until the monster grabbed one of them. She used her other hands to grab the rest of the players and asked them to play with her, until she threw them against the wall with a powerful impact. The monster let out a sinister laugh, while Leo was on the ground still in shock after the monster killed all of the players. He panicked after he could not find any information about the monster, until she launched a powerful strike that Leo was thrown against the wall. Unable to move his body, the monster slowly crawled into him. She noted a familiar scent she smelled, while Leo looked at her in terror. To his surprise, the monster suddenly called him daddy and asked if it was really him. His shock displayed, followed by an internal scream as things did not make sense to him. The monster asked him to keep a cool head, until Leo realized that there might probably be a way out of this mess. The monster called herself Suzu and asked him to go home as she opened a giant mouth in her stomach. Leo's confusion deepened, while Suzu suddenly became affectionate, but he told her to stop and listen to what he would say. As Leo entered her mouth-like stomach, he wondered if this is how he would die. He fell into an endless abyss, calling it the worst way to go. Suddenly, a notification informed him that he unlocked a hidden job called a Dread Keeper. Afterwards, Leo slowly regains his consciousness, confused after being eaten by Suzu. He finds himself in a living room and realizes he is not dead, then he recognizes that he is inside his house. A news report flashes on his television, prompting Leo to realize that he has gone back in time 10 years later, before the advent of Paradise Heaven. His astonishment displays after learning that he has an ability to redo his life after he dies. He can't hide his excitement after his prayers have been answered until an ominous figure materializes behind him. Suzu suddenly appears, startling Leo, causing him to fall on the floor. Suzu tells him that she is hungry, but Leo still freezes in shock. Suzu salivates as she points out his flavor, prompting Leo to think he is going to get eaten again. Suzu suddenly expresses her affection towards Leo before asking him what is for dinner. Leo can't find the right words to respond, until he rushes off to make her something to eat. Afterwards, Suzu looks confused when she sees a mountain of chicken buckets. Leo happily tells her that all the food he prepared is just for her. Suzu grabs him gently, then nuzzles Leo to express her gratitude. His anxiety is obvious in his face while he asks himself if what is happening is real. Suzu finally grabs a piece of chicken to eat, making her like the food instantly. Leo figures she'll get full right away after finishing the feast he prepared for her. While looking at his database, he is surprised to see he has a job. It turns out that he became a Dread Keeper, which is a unique F-rank job because of Suzu. He also learns that Suzu is a corrupted zombie, surprised that she already ranks as a B-rank monster despite not being fully recovered. This makes him wonder what her condition will be once her condition is complete. Leo questions if he can control Suzu, then he can also control other bosses as well. Suddenly, Suzu has entered starvation mode, which means that she will consume any living thing without regard for enemy or ally. Her persistent hunger condition prompts her to ask Leo what else she can eat. Leo questions if normal food is not enough since it's only been 5 minutes after she finished the fried chicken buckets. He decides to get her in a good mood as he pats her head, reminding her that she needs to be patient sometimes. Leo tells her there is no need to rush, and he will let her eat to her heart's content. He schemes silently as he plans to act out the role of a good father to help Suzu fully recover, so clearing a dungeon will be a piece of cake for him in the future. Leo is set on getting revenge, while Suzu is taken aback when he gives her head pats. Leo is rendered speechless by her reaction, until Suzu grabs him in excitement and promises him to be a good girl. Leo is a bit roughed up and struggles to breath as he asks her to put him down. Suddenly, a threatening news report catches their attention, triggering Leo's disbelief. He suddenly looks outside the window in a panic, realizing that the dungeon advent is earlier than before. A burst of green energy suddenly erupts across the sky, prompting Leo to recognize the scene as the Black Forest. In a flash, multiple eyes suddenly appear right before his face, marking the official manifestation of the Black Forest. Leo falls into the ground in terror, while confusion overcomes him. Suzu suddenly charges and calls the monster a pest. Her scarlet eyes display as she orders it to go away. Leo breaks free from the eyeball, prompting Suzu to blurt out her sudden possessiveness over him. Leo panics and orders Suzu to put him down, to which she obeys and asks if it's time to eat already. Leo is suddenly disoriented, until he feels something strange while surrounded by a green mist. The system warns him about a strange monster as the Black Forest's curse activates, causing its level to surge. Leo freezes in shock, learning that if he does not clear the Black Forest in 72 hours, he will be confined in the dungeon permanently. Massive vines suddenly appear from the ground, surrounding the whole area. Forest ghosts suddenly appear with menacing laughs, while Leo is still in shock, noting another problem before he even finishes dealing with Suzu. Suddenly, she charges forward after seeing her food, leaving Leo confused. Her salivating expression displays after finding them delicious. Suzu swings her arm at the ghosts, gaining her more experience points as she eats them. Her satiety level increases instantly, triggering her excitement. After consuming the monsters, she gains an ability called Wild Conversion that lasts for 20 minutes. She can't believe how delicious her meal is, so she continues devouring the ghosts. Leo is relieved to see that she can satisfy her hunger by eating monsters, until she fully recovers. He suddenly shifts his focus on dealing with the curse, which he has not encountered before. Leo notes that the Black Forest dungeon should have been in the uninhabitable zone in Sakurata City, realizing that the only difference is that Suzu is here. Suddenly, she kindly offers him food, but he politely declines. Leo suspects that the dungeon wants to eliminate Suzu, so it is also trying to kill him, who is her owner using a curse. He panics as he needs to escape the dungeon for 72 hours unless he clears it. He wonders how he and Suzu handle such a massive forest. Leo suddenly senses a danger, until more forest ghosts ambush him from the ground. Suzu reaches out for Leo while she activates Wild Conversion as a countermeasure. She is pleased with the result after she catches Leo. He confirms that he is fine after Suzu asks if he is okay. Leo grins as he realizes that Suzu absorbed the ghost's skill, then the monsters suddenly glow. Leo urges her to let go of the ghosts, but a massive explosion suddenly follows. 24 hours after the Black Forest manifested in Neru's city, Luca tells his party not to fear as he knows their enemy's weakness. After all, he is a beta tester and urges them to just follow his orders. Suddenly, a group of scared players run away from a massive impact, shocking Luca after realizing that they are up against a rank 2 forest ghost. The monster towers over him, confusing the players after seeing an unknown species of monster. Luca tries to hide his panic as he tries to calm them down and promises a resolution. He lets out a loud sigh, until an energy streak suddenly pierces through the sky. The powerful beam is directed at the monster, shaking the ground with a massive impact. Mena, an F-rank jurist, appears as the smoke clears up, noting how easy to kill the enemy was. Luca's spirits rise up and give the players a knowing speech. Everyone starts to celebrate after the monster is dead and they are saved. Mena is surprised at how good Luca is at swaying people after knowing each other for just a day. In a flashback, Mena was battered in an alley by monsters, until someone arrived to save her. Luca defeated the monsters and invited Mena to join his party as he planned to clear the dungeon. He confidently introduced himself as a beta tester and asked if she was interested in becoming a hero along with him. Presently, Mena questions his ability to become a hero while noticing that the monsters in the F-rank dungeon keep getting stronger, and clearing it will not be as easy as Luca says it will. Suzu can't hide her excitement while merging with a gigantic tree, asking Leo if they can do it again, but he is visibly worn out already. He acknowledges that Suzu saved him, but he will end up dead if this intensity continues. Suddenly, he recognizes Luca giving orders to his party. Knowing that he is not yet established like 10 years in the future, Leo thinks that clearing a dungeon with him might not be a bad idea. A sudden vibration catches their attention. While Suzu points out that it's food, more monsters climb up to reach them, terrifying Leo. The trees start moving, which confuses the players on the ground, disappointing Mina as they react to everything they see. Luca looks terrified as the situation worsens until the giant tree cracks. Luca screams at Mina and tells her to run, but she is not aware of the impending danger behind her. The ground shakes after the tree falls down, covering the area with dust. Leo is caught in the collapse, questioning if he is still alive. Mina is visibly annoyed as he addresses Leo, warning him not to move around after she accidentally caught his fall in an awkward position. Leo looks terrified as he explains that it was just an accident, convincing Mina that he was just nearby. A massive impact suddenly shakes the ground after Suzu looks for Leo, alarming Mina of the impending danger. Suzu finally finds him, surprising Mina. Leo thinks this is a good opportunity, until Mina stands up and charges her power to fight Suzu. She declares that heroes don't run from danger and tells Leo that she will protect him, leaving him speechless. Mina reassures him that everything is alright, confusing Suzu, but the hero challenges the monster to come at her. Leo suddenly panics at how things developed as Mina thinks that Suzu is an enemy. The hero charges without hesitation, while Suzu just stares at the incoming attack. She is surrounded by blue laser beams, while Leo screams to watch out. A sharp arrow-shaped beam points at the back of Suzu's head as Mina unleashes her holy cannon. She is confident that she got the monster, but Suzu simply slams her opponent into the ground. He rushes to the crash site to check if Mina is okay, hoping that she is not dead. He then realizes that she is just unconscious. Unable to know what to do with her, Suzu suddenly asks if she can eat Mena, but he immediately replies that she is not allowed to eat humans. Leo recognizes Mena as a jurist in Luca's party, thinking that he will let him join his party if he saves her. However, it will not work if they find out about Suzu, so he asks her for a favor. Leo asks her to hide for a while, prompting Suzu to ask why. He explains that if she hides well, he will treat her to something delicious. Her excitement displays as she obeys him while he promises to search for her treat. The Black Forest's sinister eye appears, while a notification informs Leo that the curse's effect has dropped significantly. He suspects that the curse weakened because Suzu is hidden, making him decide to keep her concealed, get Luca to find the boss, and then have Suzu defeat it. Mina finally awakens, a grimace forming in her face as she feels the pain. Leo greets her with a smile, while Suzu remains invisible. Mina questions what happened to the monster, prompting Leo to lie that Suzu ran off somewhere and expresses his gratitude for the hero. Mina is rendered speechless, admitting that she does not clearly remember what happened before she passed out. She stands up confidently and tells Leo that they should go somewhere safe, making his plans fall into place. Suddenly, Mina asks for his name, but Leo gives her a fake one instead to hide his identity. Mina reaches her hand to help Leo get up while introducing herself. While Suzu watches curiously, she suddenly senses a familiar sensation, but Leo whispers to her and asks Suzu to follow him for food. She obeys him without hesitation, while Mina warns Leo not to get separated from her. In an abandoned warehouse, Luca sits worriedly as he asks his team if they found Mina already. His eyes sharpen, until he shouts at his team to hurry up and find her while noting how important she is to their party. Luca's underlings try to calm him down as they promise to continue searching for her. Silently, Luca notes how incredible Mina's special ability is, so he wishes for safety. Suddenly, she arrives and tells everyone that there is no need to search anymore. Mina greets Luca, lifting his spirits instantly. He looks relieved and welcomes her back, then he asks if Leo is her little brother after noticing him. Meanwhile, Suzu realizes that only Leo can see her, while Mina explains that he just saved him out on the road. Leo greets Luca with a cheerful smile, asking if he could join their party, and Luca agrees without hesitation. Luca pretends to warmly welcome him, but he silently notes how suspicious Leo is, prompting him to use his exclusive skill to find out about his identity. Luca starts his analysis, but Leo asks if there is something he can help him with. An unknown warning sign suddenly appears, but Luca continues as he commends Leo for his motivation and asks to call him boss. Suddenly, the inquiry fails, and Luca is unable to identify him, while Leo agrees to call him boss. Silently, Luca panics after he can't identify him despite multiple tries. He gives Leo an ominous look, but he tries one more time, however, it fails again. Luca suddenly falls into his knees as a sharp headache hits him. Leo questions if Luca is okay while Suzu angrily protects him as she releases an ominous aura. Luca jolts in fear as panic shoots through him, leaving the room in silence. Mina asks Luca what is wrong, while Suzu explains to Leo that he only startled him a little. Suddenly, a loud noise shocks everyone in the warehouse, then a massive explosion follows. Luca expresses his disbelief after their hideout exploded, questioning what is happening. Their panic rises after they see massive trees moving. Suzu asks Leo if they should run, but he tells her to wait, as his detection ability is still active. He notices that the monsters are agitated and wonders if there is something exciting them. Suddenly, he notices something strange with the fire, prompting him to get everyone's attention. Leo tells them to move away from the fire, explaining that rank 3 timber yokai are coming. A massive explosion erupts, followed by the monster stepping out of the fire, releasing a guttural sound. The players are shocked, while Luca can't believe how Leo knew about the timber yokai and suspects that he has a savior potential like him. Luca suddenly overthinks that Leo will take his place. He notices that the bonus for defeating the boss of the Black Forest keeps increasing, thinking that Leo plans to become a leader and steal the bonus. Luca generates an item, noting that during the new player protection period, each dungeon can only have one savior. With a confident gaze, he is determined to make Leo regret coming into his dungeon as he holds his weapon. Luca orders everyone to follow his orders and begin counterattacking, until Mena warns him to look out, but he is unable to react and is blown away by a powerful impact. A massive explosion erupts in the warehouse, prompting Mena to declare that they can't rely on Luca anymore and orders Leo to get everyone out while he can. She grabs him roughly, asking if he understands, and he confirms through the pain. Silently, Leo observes how odd it is that the timber yokai are evolving even though the curse is reduced. The monsters gather inside the blazing fire and violently charge at the players. Mena orders Leo to hurry up as she throws him into the ground, but he expresses his defiance. Suddenly, Suzu can't help it anymore and starts eating the yokai. Suzu starts revealing herself and attacking the monsters as she approaches her treats. Suzu clashes with the blazing fire, while Mena expresses her shock as she sees her again. Suzu feasts yokai as if she is eating roasted barbecues, devouring the blazing monsters without hesitation. Leo notes that Suzu stays focused on the food despite his rising danger. Leo checks his synchronization skill, which randomly grants him a kept monster's ability for 20 minutes. Without hesitation, he uses his only skill while wondering if he can control the boss of the Black Forest and break the curse too. Suddenly, Mena grabs Leo's shoulder, urging him to escape as the situation gets more dangerous, but Leo tells her that now is their chance, leaving her confused. Leo confidently declares to defeat the boss while the monsters are distracted, revealing that Luca should know where the boss is. He also tells her that they won't stand a chance if the timber yokai keep evolving at this rate, and Mena agrees. She grabs Leo and tells him to hold on tight as they make their move. Meanwhile, at Naru City's underground ruins, the boss of the Black Forest hides and notes that she has finally found her creator. She gives a mischievous giggle while hidden in her territory. Meanwhile, Luca finally locates the boss's hideout with how fast the flowers grow and smell. Silently, he plans to defeat the boss while others are distracted as he cares more about the bonus than anything else. A sharp noise suddenly screeches through their head, shocking Luca. Their eyes suddenly glow as if they are being infected by the scent. Confusion fills the room after only expecting a level F dungeon, but Luca tells them not to panic. He notices that the difficulty only went up a bit and urges everyone to come forward. A low-rank player suddenly stops him and questions if they even stand a chance, angering Luca instantly. Without hesitation, he cuts the player down after getting offended by the question. He suddenly earns a bonus and experience points after killing an NPC, while the system asks him if he plans to acquire the defeated player's job card. The other players are stunned after what Luca did, but he ignores them while realizing that killing an NPC is way more valuable than defeating timber yokai. Luca smiles ominously and decides to take out the rest of the players for more points. Meanwhile, Leo and Mena have arrived at the location, surrounded by traces of battle. The two are suddenly startled after they hear people panicking and escaping. Mena rushes to the scene, then shouts at Luca, who is standing on top of dead bodies. He looks at her nonchalantly, until he smiles and tries to explain himself. Mena is shocked as she reminds Luca of his promise to clear dungeons together, but he is killing their allies. Luca explains that they were the ones who turned crazy and blames the scent of flowers in the air. Mena questions what about the smell, while Luca explains that one becomes the boss's underling once they smell the scent, so he decides to kill their allies. He suddenly raises his sword, telling Mena that he fell under the monster's control too, and asks her to kill him. Mena looks visibly scared and asks if they can't just kill the boss together. Luca replies that it's impossible, but Mena doesn't accept his answer and encourages him not to give up. Luca's face darkens as he mentions that there is another way, prompting Mena to ask him what it is. Luca suddenly charges with his sword as he declares to kill her, stunning Mena. Luca pierces her chest, then pins Mena on the ground. He looks manic as he questions who she thinks she is to give advice to a protagonist like him. Luca twists his sword while revealing he only saved her because he wanted a high-level job. He suddenly tells Mena that she can still fulfill one final role, while he suddenly activates a job card. The system notifies that the target is still living and asks if he plans to forcibly steal the job card, which Luca confirms. Mena screams in agony as the extraction happens. Afterwards, Luca smiles maniacally as Mina's S-level card floats in the air. Suddenly, Luca is stunned after he hears a familiar voice calling out to Mina. Leo finally catches up, until he realizes that he arrives at a bad time. Luca smiles maniacally and asks Leo what he wants, but the latter tries to act foolish. Luca is not convinced and tells him to drop the act, while Leo notices immediately that he is acting strange. Silently, Leo feels bad for Minna, but he needs to save himself first and escape. Luca's body lights up with Minna's powers and threatens Leo that he is not getting anywhere. Leo is stunned after Luca has locked him with his will, which is a physical manifestation to an awakened job when he doesn't have one. Luca reveals that he thought Leo was going to usurp his position, but he was wrong to think the latter wouldn't spare a glance for Minna's level S ability. Silently, Leo is confused and surprised after learning that Minna is an S-class player. Luca suddenly declares that the reason the dungeon changed was because both of them were time-slip saviors, suspecting that Leo increased the difficulty level. Leo sweats in terror after learning that Luca is a time-slipper and recalls different kinds of them. There are those who save people just for fun, brutes who kill people virtuously, heroes who sacrifice themselves for others, and many more. Their abilities are full of unknown, prompting Leo to understand his opponent better. Luca suddenly asks what Leo's objective and clear bonus are, but Leo needs to buy time until Suzu catches up, so he suddenly smiles confidently. He tells Luca that he is surprised that his opponent saw through him and owns up to his accusations. It is not hard for Luca to believe his lies, while Leo continues and shares that he snuck into another savior's dungeon when it opened, causing the difficulty to change, as well as the value of the bonus. Luca smiles and thinks that Leo must be pleased that his plan is going well. Silently, Leo notes that Luca believes everything he is saying, so he decides to act the part thoroughly. Leo laughs maniacally and declares that Luca should be thanking him for making the dungeon more thrilling. Luca agrees with him as the bonus has already changed, while Leo celebrates silently as his opponent continues to fall for his lies. Suddenly, Minna's energy surges as she angrily addresses Leo, believing that he and Luca are in it together, but the latter kicks her to knock her unconscious again. Leo suddenly feels guilty after Minna takes his lies seriously. A prompt suddenly notifies that the level S Juris job card has completely been obtained. While Minna lies on the ground, Luca finally feels the power of a job. He finds stealing it from an NPC easier than waiting to awaken, which is a mysterious feeling. Leo suddenly asks Luca if they should cooperate moving forward, but a powerful aura stops them. Luca looks shocked, seeing players and Timber Yokai attack while blaming it on Leo. Luca questions his proposition to cooperate, believing that he called the monsters, which leaves Leo speechless. Luca extends his energy as he doesn't feel bothered by the impending danger ahead. He charges forward, directly aiming at Leo without hesitation. Luca's demonic expression displays as he refuses Leo's proposition to work together. What follows is a powerful explosion that covers the surroundings with dust. As the smoke clears, it is revealed that Suzu makes it in time to stop Luca. He angrily tells her to let go and declares that he is the savior. Suzu's scarlet eyes glare as she responds that she doesn't need a savior, revealing her intentions to find her creator. Luca expresses his confusion until he pieces everything together as he looks at Leo. The latter simply smiles and confirms that he is Suzu's creator, prompting Luca to panic and give in to his proposal to work together. Suzu smashes the ground as she defends her creator's honor, until she has had enough and starts to feel sleepy. Before anything else, Leo asks her to deal with the rest of the Timber Yokai. Suzu obeys without hesitation and starts eating the monsters. Leo is overwhelmed by the monsters' number, but the silver lining is that they haven't encountered the boss yet. Leo suddenly rushes to Minna and checks if she is okay, but she looks disoriented. Leo is shocked to see her condition, until something catches his attention. Suzu calls him in a strange manner, then grabs Leo while he asks if she is done. Suzu hugs him as she falls asleep, while noting that she will protect him. Leo looks worried as he tries to wake her up, finding how strange that she suddenly fell asleep and the monsters became inactive too. Leo also notices that his curse has disappeared. The tree begins to move and summons the boss as she notices Leo is unaffected by her power and realizes why Suzu calls him her creator. Leo's eyes widen in shock, but he immediately activates his synchronization skill that randomly selects his kept monster's ability. Whisper Flower, a rank C advanced boss, laughs maniacally and declares that they are her prey. Leo instantly uses Ghost Transformation, which lasts 20 minutes, dodging Flower's attacks. He can escape while invisible, but Suzu is still in danger. To his surprise, Flower sees his invisible form and tells him that he will not be able to escape her, revealing that all the plants around serve as her eyes, and the flower fragrance that Leo inhaled is part of her too. Leo feels trapped and can't find a way to escape, so he asks Flower what she wants instead. The boss suddenly admires Suzu, noting that she is particular about her food. Leo feels disgusted after realizing that Flower plans to eat Suzu all along and not him. She confirms and reveals that she ate Suzu's eye, before which gave her intelligence, and she needs to keep evolving to earn someone's favor. Leo assumes that she is referring to a human, only for Flower to get angry as she declares that the person she is referring to is not like Leo. Flower reveals that he is the creator and god of monsters, while Leo, who only keeps a monster, is nothing but an imposter. Leo is shocked she knows his job, while she explains that the god of monsters, Suzu's own creator, still calls Leo her father and even gave her power. She accuses Leo of manipulating a monster and questions if he is trying to mimic the god of monsters. Suddenly, Leo finally realizes his real job, which is to bring Flower her food, prompting her to pause for a moment. She commends his cleverness and promises to keep alive if he becomes her slave, while Leo laughs and calls it a nice offer. However, he insults her and refuses her offer. Flower laughs maniacally, responding that Leo has no say in the matter. She uses her vines to attack him, but they only pass through his body because of his skill. The system notifies that he only has 10 minutes, prompting him to panic as his skill time is running out already. He rushes to escape the vines and decides to wake up Suzu, but Flower calls her minions to capture Leo. The Timber Yokai and other players listen without hesitation. While Leo's anxiety rises, he asks himself if there is really no other way, until he sees Mena's job card. If Luca can use it, he is certain that he can too. Leo grabs the card instantly, only to be informed that the job awakening is unavailable. Leo's frustration and disappointment display until his ghost transformation finally expires. Leo refuses to give up as he activates synchronization skill again. This time, he plans to use Suzu's Eye of Truth. As it activates, Flower calls him out for relying on Suzu's abilities again. Without hesitation, she stops him with her powers, hitting Leo with a screeching headache. The synchronization is blocked immediately, while Leo lets out a guttural scream of agony. Flower tells him to fall in a deep slumber and die within her memories. Leo's right eye glows and questions if he is seeing her true form. Flower becomes an eye surrounded by tentacles as she claims his body and calls him a slave. The system notifies that his spirit has been corrupted, which is unique to upper-tier dungeons, and makes him question if he is really in an F-rank dungeon. Leo closes his eyes and recalls that Suzu killed him in his previous life, and then he questions if he is going to die because of her again. He wonders if meeting her was good fortune or not, until Leo lies alone in a room bathed in white light. He suddenly wakes up shocked, realizing he is not yet dead. His screen is still active, and he questions where he is, until he hears someone call something a masterpiece. Leo traces the sound beyond a random door, prompting him to open without hesitation. He sees a blurry man on the ground, thinking it is a projected memory. Leo is stunned when the man shouts to rejoice in his newfound existence and merge his will with theirs. Leo suspects that the man is delusional and creates his own fantasy, while he summons his greatest masterpiece. The man expresses his excitement, but Leo remains shocked. A girl suddenly materializes from the papers, which turns out to be a kid version of Suzu. The man tells her to listen up as he names her, while she innocently repeats her name. The man reaches for her as Leo watches in shock, while the man hugs her and tells Suzu to call him father from now on. Suzu smiles innocently, prompting Leo's confusion as her bloodlusted image flashes in his memory. Leo tries to calm down, realizing that he is inside Suzu's memories, but he can't ignore the fact that she looks different. Suddenly, the man calls her his grand opus and asks if she is ready, only to confuse Suzu. He clarifies that he meant her joining him and saving the world. Then the projection suddenly vanishes, while Leo complains about how little the information he has gathered and wonders what the man is after. Suddenly, something catches his attention, realizing that it was just an opening act. Another random door suddenly appears, but Leo is certain that he is obviously being lured. Regardless, he decides to open the door, and hears Suzu's excited voice. The man shows his newest research to Suzu, which is able to transform all things, including its name. He presents Whisper Flower's first form, a flower with animal-like traits. Leo instantly recognizes the boss of the Black Forest, but the man notes that Flower is missing something unlike his perfect Suzu. He smiles and describes the conundrum he is in, until Suzu hugs him and offers to help. She smiles innocently and asks if there is anything she can do to help. Leo finds the scene wholesome to the point he questions why she had to transform into a monster, while the man tells her that she needs her power. The man asks for her consent, to which she immediately gives without hesitation, until he reveals that he wants something she only possesses. The vibe shifts into a sinister tone as he points to her eye, leaving Leo frozen in shock. To his surprise, Suzu smiles and obeys, prompting her to gouge her eye without hesitation. Suddenly, Leo's eye throbs as she feels Suzu's pain, while she extends her hands to her creator. Suzu clearly tries to please her father, so he won't have to ask anyone else for help. Meanwhile, Leo drops to the ground as he winces in immense pain, while the man commends Suzu for obeying him. Leo continues to scream as he reacts in disbelief, while the man calls Suzu, telling her to witness the power of her eye. Flower devours her eye without hesitation, triggering the creature to react and transform into her final form. The man confirms that it worked, but Leo suddenly charges at him. His eyes burn red as he calls the man a monster for using his own child for inhumane experiments. Leo punches the figure, only for the projection to glitch. Leo drops to the ground as he calls the man a criminal, triggering him to feel depressed as he feels Suzu's pain. Suddenly, 3 random doors appear, but it starts to multiply, which shocks Leo, confused that he did not even touch them. The doors suddenly open, showing Suzu's backstory, where she had to sacrifice her left hand after her left eye. Suzu feeds a monster as she tells it to grow big and strong. She then sacrificed her heart, but the man told her that she would get better soon. Next, he took out her legs, but she did not feel a thing. Even her memories were eaten, which caused her to forget things. Suddenly, Leo screams in agony as he feels all of Suzu's pain, realizing that she is a monster's food. Suzu lies helpless on the ground, pitiful and looking for her creator, until a familiar voice asks how she has been. Suzu sees her dad and lights up with excitement that he came to see her. He brings the other monsters with him and calls them their family, who are happy to see her. The monsters suddenly charge at her to play with her, but Suzu doesn't recognize them and thinks that her creator doesn't need her anymore. The monsters feast on her while the man cold-heartedly tells that Suzu is beyond repair. She screams in agony as she begs her father not to abandon her. Leo tries to comfort her as he feels the same pain she is experiencing, making him feel guilty as he admits that Suzu was deceived by him and her creator. Suddenly, the system informs that the Eye of Truth is reaching 50% synchronization rate. His eyes charge up, deciding he will become Suzu's real father. Something suddenly catches Flower's attention. While Leo greets her and mocks her hideous face, the monster questions how Leo has regained his consciousness, prompting her to show him what hell looks like again. Leo taunts her, but Flower mocks him and bets on how long his arrogance will last. Leo admits that he feels pain, but it is nothing compared to what Suzu felt. Leo looks down, uttering synchronization repeatedly. Multiple skills activate all at once while his synchronization rate continues to increase. He is finally back to Suzu's mental realm, ordering the monsters to quit eating already. Leo warns to eat them if they keep devouring Suzu, noting that it is only fair. Leo charges at the monsters without hesitation, then grabs a massive eyeball and gouges it out of the monster's body. Leo proceeds to eat them, shocking the other monsters. They gang up on him immediately, while Leo mocks how bad they taste. Outside the memory realm, Leo is still tied up and unconscious. The synchronization rate hits 70% where he reaches spiritual pollution, until he opens his eyes and complains that he needs to eat more monsters. Flower questions if he really wants to be put to sleep that badly, prompting her to let him inside her memory to die. Back in the memory realm, he carries Suzu onto a pile of fallen monsters and gently comforts her. Suzu awakens and recognizes the warmth of her father. Leo smiles at her as he claims the role of her father. Flower reminds Leo that it is just a memory, but he mocks her. She explains that the memory was constructed by her force of will and he will die inside even if he eats her. She mocks him for thinking a mere human can emerge unscathed after absorbing a monster's force of will. In a sense, their force of will is poison, and she questions how long Leo will last. Suddenly, his synchronization rate hits 90% and reaches spiritual corruption. Eyeballs suddenly appear around Leo's face as he introduces himself as Suzu's father while telling Flower that her memory is revolting. Flower suddenly calls Leo insane, questioning his identity while she sweats in fear. He simply smiles and asks her to put him back to sleep, but Flower is creeped out as she finally lets him go. Leo gently asks her again, but Flower trembles in fear. Leo suddenly shows his sinister form as he threatens to kill the creator repeatedly. Otherwise, he asks Flower if she is willing to share his and Suzu's pain. Suddenly, Leo's force of will has overcome the boss, while Flower orders silence. The system asks if he will keep the level C boss as the monster crushes the ground. Flower panics as she can't move because of his strong will of force. Leo is surrounded by a green aura while he tells Flower to look at her force of will around him, which made him stronger. He noted that if Flower doesn't want to play with him, then he will have Suzu play with her instead. Suzu suddenly regains her consciousness and questions who hurt Leo, but he tells her to play with Flower instead. He tells her that Suzu can eat her if she gets bored, exciting the monster. Suzu suddenly grabs Flower and asks who hurt Leo, but the boss denies that it was her doing, adding that Leo did it to himself. Suzu calls her bluff, prompting her to crush Flower into the ground without hesitation. Suddenly, Leo rushes to Mena, who is still breathing and questions his identity. He simply responds that he is a father to a willful daughter. Then he holds the sword pierced to her body and asks her to bear with the pain. Leo takes out the sword, triggering Mena. She immediately knocks him down, asking if he is still going to lie and accuses him of working with a madman. She points the sword at him, but Leo tries to explain that Luca was the only one who deceived her. He adds that he would not staunch her wound if he was her enemy, prompting her to stop as she realizes that the bleeding has stopped. Leo explains that it was only a temporary measure and asks to move the sword. Then Mena starts to apologize for the misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Suzu continues to feast on Flower, while Leo asks Mena if there is any change in her mind or body. Mena responds that she feels great instead, but Leo asks about her job card which Luca stole from her earlier. Mena suddenly panics and asks him what she should do, prompting Leo to give a risky solution and asks her to lend him her strength in return. Mena agrees to his condition, surprising Leo with how quickly she responds. She explains that she trusts her after he helped her, which he understands but silently questions if she is pure or just stupid. Leo suddenly calls Suzu, prompting her to approach them without hesitation. Mena feels overwhelmed by Suzu's figure, shocked after realizing that she is Leo's daughter. Leo tells Suzu that he has a request for her, then he starts looking for Flower. Suzu responds that she already ate her, but Leo asks her to spit her out for a minute. Suzu obeys without hesitation, but Mena suddenly covers his eyes in a panic. Suzu grabs Flower inside her stomach, while Leo commends her for obeying him. Suzu drops Flower to the ground and pants heavily, unable to catch a break. Leo looks at Flower more closely and states her request for Mena, which is to obliterate the monster. Flower feels insulted and tells Leo not to underestimate her, making her summon her minions to attack Mena. Suzu and Mena are stunned after the enemies come back to life, prompting the former to ask Leo if she can eat them, but he responds that there is no need for that. He questions Flower if she is all done, but the monster feels even more insulted. She threatens him that she will take him down with her when she dies, suggesting that he does his best to survive. Leo summons a green orb as he agrees with Flower with a sinister expression. The light blinds the room, causing the enemies to pause. Minna expresses her excitement, asking Leo what he did. Chills shoot down her spine when she sees his face covered in multiple eyeballs. He explains that it is the risk that he mentioned before called spiritual corruption, which only happens in high-tier dungeons, but there is a method to decrease the corruption rate. Minna does not let him finish talking and grabs his hand, asking if he is okay. He reassures her that he is fine, but she insists not to put on a brave front as she thinks of him like a little brother. Leo looks annoyed while silently noting that his mental age is higher than hers. He then shifts their attention to Flower and tells Minna that she is the solution. He explains that mission and exploration are the two kinds of dungeons, and in the latter, job holders can enter and leave freely. The Black Forest happens to be an exploration dungeon, and one can leave anytime as long as they have a job, but because of Luca, the difficulty changed from level F to C. He brainwashed the members to fight each other for the bonus and stole Minna's job. But the truth is, the dungeon shifted because of Suzu, which Leo intends to keep a secret. Meanwhile, Suzu toys with Flower as she begs the giant monster to let her go. Leo simply explains that Luca's objective is to defeat a level C boss and collect the drop item, which is what Minna needs to do right now. She smiles as she finally understands what she needs to do, telling Leo to leave the rest to her. Minna asks Suzu to let Flower down as she intends to defeat the boss, which she obeys and drops the monster to the ground. Minna pierces Flower with her sword without hesitation, clearing the dungeon as the boss dies. However, there is an identification error with Minna's name, as the system doesn't acknowledge someone without a job. The system corrects the error and puts Leo's name instead. Minna proudly tells him that she defeated the boss while Leo thanks her as he lets out a sigh. He approaches Minna and tells her that he would like to keep his identity a secret, which she understands. Leo proceeds to hide her player information until the system asks for his player ID. He then decides to go with the name Keeper, until the system notifies that their bonus is being calculated and will be distributed once completed. Leo notes that it is time to grant Minna's wish, then he proceeds to dig something inside Flower's body. He finally takes out the boss's item, which is a sprite-type monster core. Minna asks how to use it and hopes it's not something she has to ingest. Leo smiles ominously as he confirms her assumption, making her tense. To their surprise, Minna suddenly coughs blood out of nowhere. Suzu asks if Minna is dead, but Leo immediately responds that she is not. His shock displays while Minna notes that she can't feel her arms and legs, and asks if she is going to die. Leo offers to help her immediately, activating the item in his hand. He feeds her the item and promises that he won't let her die. After taking it, Leo is relieved that it is working and the elemental power around them is gathering. He explains that among the types of cores, gold cores are valued at over 2 million. He adds that by removing the boss's power of will, one can acquire pure elemental power, noting that there were severe conflicts over these items before. Suddenly, Minna's body is surging with energy, prompting Leo to realize that she is being controlled by the elemental power instead. A massive explosion erupts that blows him away, angering Suzu for hurting Leo. She asks if she can finally eat Minna, but Leo reminds her not to eat humans. However, a sinister aura suddenly fills Suzu, while she asks what they should do. Leo is frozen in fear after seeing her aura, believing she might eat him too if he answers poorly. He decides to soothe her instead and gets her commitment to protect him if it gets dangerous. Leo shifts her attention to Minna and wonders if he should ask Suzu, but he realizes that it is too dangerous. He starts to falter as her position is too far and his power of will won't reach her, making him realize that Minna's body won't last. On top of that, Leo is already feeling the side effects of the spiritual corruption, prompting him to depend on Suzu after all. He turns to her and asks to lend him a hand, while the monster awaits for his orders. He asks her to throw him into Minna's direction, and without hesitation, she grabs his body, pulling him back to gain momentum, but he reminds her to throw him slowly. Suzu does not listen this time and launches Leo like a baseball, and it turns out that he likes her throw. Leo enters the massive force field, crashing into the target with a powerful impact. Leo finally gets a hold of Minna and tries to wake her, before slapping her back to her senses. Minna finally wakes up, still disoriented, while Leo lets out a relieved breath. He points out that she was about to become a real plant person. Her embarrassed face displays as she looks at her situation. She asks him to look away, but he promises that he did not see anything. Minna suddenly notices the effects of spiritual corruption in his hand and asks if he is okay, but Suzu suddenly threatens her after thinking Minna hurt her dad. Leo stops her and explains that Minna is his friend, leaving Suzu speechless while he throws the job card to Minna to return it to its rightful owner. He tells her that she should be able to use it by now, asking to keep his identity a secret as he leaves the dungeon. Minna is rendered speechless as Leo and Suzu walk away, but Minna asks for his real name at least. Leo and Suzu pause, while Minna questions if his secrets are for Suzu's sake. The fact that he even accepted spiritual corruption for her, she questions if he is a human or a monster. The eyeballs appear again on Leo's face as he likes to know the answer to her question as well. He looks at Minna, while Suzu holds his body and asks what she thinks, but Suzu responds that he is simply her dad, leaving Minna speechless. Leo finally reveals his real name and asks Minna to go easy on him next time they meet, leaving a smile on her face as they part ways. The system officially announces that the Black Forest dungeon has been cleared within almost a day. Players are shocked after learning the news, curious to know the player ID as the ranking gets updated. The alias keeper displays in the leaderboard, 10 hours after the Black Forest was cleared, the Apparition Association arrived late at the subway car garage. Sharp claws slam on the ground, while Two-Head investigates Flower's warm corpse, condemning the cruel act. Two-Head reiterates that the body is still warm and asks if they should tell their colleague, but Bone Ren tells him to be silent. He noted that whoever killed Flower must be familiar with Sprite-type monsters' vital points. Felmina steps forward as she acknowledges the loss of their brethren while Two-Head calls out Bone Ren's rudeness. Felmina wonders who killed Flower and acknowledges that she was the closest to their creator. She suddenly asks Chell to produce images from before she died, which he obeys without hesitation. Chell launches a red beam through his eye, summoning a swirling vortex. A footage of Leo appears where he was talking to Flower, revealing his multi-eyed form as he wishes to see the god of monsters. The Apparition Association watches the footage until Flower's final moments, while Bone Ren is in disbelief that their brethren was killed by a human child. His power surges after Leo insulted their god, but the footage suddenly shows Suzu being protective of Leo. Felmina recognizes Suzu as the first-generation monster and the Queen of Destruction. Confusion fills the air while Felmina suspects that Leo is a higher being than Suzu. Felmina's excitement rises as Suzu and Flower are basically gods among the monsters, and Leo must be the leader that they have been seeking for. Her energy surges as she declares that dungeon survivors like them need a monster like Leo. The other monsters start to feel terrified of Felmina, but she collects herself instantly and suggests making contact with Leo as she believes that he is the reincarnation of the Great One. Felmina summons Doll, who is the most human-looking among them, to approach Leo and determine his motives. Doll obeys her order without hesitation. Meanwhile, at the Job Holder Cooperative, players share their opinions about Keeper, who cleared the Black Forest dungeon. They question if he really was a beta tester and hope they get more information about him. Meanwhile, Mena observes the leaderboard and comments how odd Leo's player ID is. Suddenly, Jenna from the cooperative approaches her to ask Mena about something. Jenna reveals that it is about the Black Forest dungeon where Mena managed to escape. Annoyed, Mena reiterates that she already gave them the information she knew, but Jenna clarifies that she is asking about the player named Keeper this time, rendering Mena speechless. Silently, she notes that whoever clears a dungeon will get a lot of attention, and Leo predicted things would turn out like this, but she honors the fact that he entrusted her with his secret. In an abandoned hotel, Leo decides to rest and wonders if there is a change in his status. He notes that he made it to level 5 inches one go, but his profession is still level F, prompting him to blame it on spiritual corruption. Leo examines a mimic crystal, a unique level C item, that can change to attack, ranged, or defense form by instilling force of will. The item glows before him, astonished by how the weapon transforms. The item turns into a glowing bow, but he realizes he needs to deal with another issue. Leo talks about the impure eye that he got from the fight, which contains Suzu's memories, which happens to be a rare level C item. He summons Suzu and tells her that he has a present for her. While holding the impure eye, he asks her to come closer. Leo returns her eye and declares that she is finally complete. Both her eyes light up, her presence is surging as she notes the weird feeling she experiences. Leo is overwhelmed by her powerful presence until he realizes that the father in her memories isn't him. He worries that she will suddenly stop perceiving him as her father, so he prepares his new weapon just in case. To his surprise, Suzu's affection for him just grows stronger instead. Leo gently tells her to put him down, then proceeds to check if her status changed. Turns out that Suzu got promoted to a level A monster. Suddenly, Leo's arm burns in pain because of the corruption's side effects. The pain surges as he drops to the ground, wondering if it was because he used force of will which he had under control before. Leo suddenly collapses, triggering Suzu to worry about her father. Leo is covered in sweat, while Suzu carries him as he sleeps. She notices his affected arm and realizes that he is hurt, blaming herself for failing to protect him as she puts him in bed. She wishes that he recovers soon, until a memory fragment surfaces in her mind where she speaks with her creator and talks about creating a utopia. She questions what it is, while the man suddenly takes Leo's form. He explains that it is a place everyone can live happily and overflows with hope. Suzu suddenly returns to her original form, holding her father's arm to comfort him. She lies on his chest and notes that she remembers now, certain that their relationship as father and daughter is real. Meanwhile, Leo slowly wakes up, realizing that he is still alive. He recalls that the pain from the spiritual corruption made him pass out. Leo suddenly experiences a hallucination where he sees multiple Suzu greeting him. He freezes in shock, realizing that Suzu is in an upside-down position. Suddenly, his arm worsens, so he meditates to keep it under control. He concentrates to control the power of will, making the side effects subside for now. He recalls that he used the same method to polish his detection skill before, surprised that he can use it to keep the force of will under control. Suzu lunges toward him with glowing eyes as he steps back in shock. She crawls closer with a crazed grin and tells him that she is hungry. Leo forces a tense smile as he asks if anything is left from their earlier hunt. His expression stiffens as he wonders why she looks childlike again. He keeps his distance while she stands there silently, her eyes fixed on him. She pulls her shirt up and shows the crystals stored inside her stomach. He pats her head with a tired smile after confirming she ate almost everything. He explains that the monsters she eats turn into crystals that can be sold. He tells her he'll get her real food soon and takes the crystals from her. She agrees excitedly with a cheerful response. A tall building shines under the morning sun in Getsurin City. Leo steps outside with Suzu trailing behind him as he notes how quickly the job holder cooperative formed. Leo adjusts his hood while deciding to sell items on the black market. Several sellers sit inside a dim underground space, already trading dungeon goods. One of them is Tokura, who will become the city's boss 10 years from now. Leo approaches with a friendly smile and says he wants to sell dungeon resources. Tokura narrows his eyes suspiciously, waving Leo off and assumes the items are stolen, while Suzu silently expresses her dislike toward him. Leo insists the items aren't stolen and faces him confidently. He opens his hand to reveal several green crystals. Tokura grabs one in shock as he realizes how rare it is. He steps back uneasily, unsure if he should trade something unknown. He begins scanning the crystal through his screen. The results reveal its high purity, surprising him that it came from the Black Forest. Leo shrugs and says he'll claim it's his own technique if questioned. Tokura grins and offers to buy everything. He proposes a high price and seals the deal with a handshake. Suzu calls out again while Leo tells her they'll find something good to eat. Leo looks at his phone with a light smile, remembering his past struggles. Suzu warns him that people are following them. Leo turns with a sly grin and spots a group approaching while noting that Tokura sold him off right off the bat. At the same time, Tokura reports the unusual goods through a hologram to his boss, thinking the crystals might reveal more about a certain player. The boss praises the report and orders continued monitoring. Suzu worries they came to capture her as the group begins to charge, but Leo tells her they're after him and not her, so she asks if she can eat them, but Leo tells her she can't. The men shout for each other to catch him. Leo jolts as they suddenly rush forward. He grabs Suzu and sprints away with the group chasing behind. Suzu floats beside him, enjoying the chase as if it were a game. The pursuers yell again as they struggle to keep up with his speed. Leo grits his teeth and calls the chase endless before telling Suzu to head to the rooftops. She responds energetically while clinging to him. Leo leaps upward, leaving the group stunned below. They gape in disbelief as they witness him soar toward the roof. His feet land sharply on the rooftop edge. Suzu hovers behind him and admits she wanted to eat them, while he realizes the men are just normal people. Leo smirks as he realizes the group must have seen their earlier trade. The men rush forward angrily as they shout at him. Leo calls Suzu as they prepare to escape. Leo braces himself as a man crashes down in front of him with overwhelming force. He looks up and sees several powered individuals rushing toward him in midair. He eyes them warily and wonders who they are. One of the men casually greets him from above. Another steps forward and introduces himself as someone from the Black Owl Company while telling Leo to comply. Suzu floats beside him and impatiently says she wants to eat already. Leo narrows his eyes and decides he'll end this quickly. He learns the attackers are job holders from the Black Owl Company and wonders why they're after him. Meanwhile, Doll waits in a crowded plaza and calls out, searching for her targets. She manipulates and tells the crowd they are her friends. She enchants the surrounding people as glowing threads bind them under her control. She asks the crowd if they've seen her friend while standing calmly in the center. She then manifests Suzu's illusion so they have a reference of how she looks. Several controlled people step forward as she cheerfully says they are her best friends. She turns ominous and orders them to go find them. Meanwhile, Mena hears a mustering call for job holders and prepares to head out. She looks over, alerted by something strange. She runs quickly while speaking into her phone, confused that no one else seems in a hurry. She reaches a clouded area and sees several entranced civilians approaching her. She pauses when she feels someone's gaze on her. She looks around and realizes the strange energy is affecting the entire street. She turns her head again, convinced someone is watching her. She finally spots the mysterious woman and is struck by how beautiful she looks. She awkwardly waves and tries greeting her as Doll approaches, but she vanishes instantly, leaving Mena confused. She shrugs it off and says she needs to hurry to headquarters. Doll appears again and says she found what she was looking for. She senses the lingering force on Mena, including the Black Forest's scent. The controlled crowd closes in and gathers around her as Doll watches. She decides to make nice with Mena for the sake of the Great One, while Mena suddenly feels worn out and questions if she was in a hurry too much. Leo stands before the Black Owl member and insists he's just a sundries seller without special goods. He tries to casually offer information on where he gets his items. One of the attackers charges in and tells him to stop playing dumb. Another swings at him, threatening to beat him black and blue. Leo dodges at the last second, brushing it off as a close call. He tries calming everyone down as the men surround him. He prepares to talk but is rushed by another attacker. Suzu laughs and enjoys the chaos behind him. Leo gestures and begins to explain where his goods come from. The attackers hesitate, calling him interesting as their leader watches, until he orders them to beat Leo to a pulp. Leo freezes when the group suddenly surrounds him again. One of the attackers swings at him while yelling in confusion. Another man steps forward and asks if Leo knows the Black Forest speed player. Leo stares wide-eyed, unsure what he means. The system displays his title's description, showing a speed increase ability. Leo's hand stings as he wonders if the clear bonus from the Black Forest really changed him. He winces as pain shoots through his arm. The man reaches out with swirling energy and says they're looking for the speed player with the title keeper. Suzu watches excitedly and points out that Leo is floating. The man grins and asks Leo if he knows where that person might be. Leo backs away as Katsu, one of the Black Owl Company's members, tells him to hurry and promises to let him live if he gives him the answers. Leo stumbles and asks why they're even looking for that person. Silently, he studies Katsu's sloppy spiritual attack and decides he'll play along to gather information. However, Leo suddenly panics when he realizes that Suzu flares behind Katsu with an angry glare as he tells Leo to give up. Suzu roars at him while Katsu laughs and orders Leo to reveal everything he knows. Leo yells for him to stop as Suzu's aura surges. Katsu recoils in shock when his presence presses down on him. Another attacker panics and points out something strange happening to Leo's face. The latter apologizes and says that almost made Suzu reveal herself. Katsu screams furiously and unleashes his power, declaring that the kid gloves are off. The others activate magic amplification and boost their strength. Katsu grits his teeth and orders them to rip Leo to shreds. The entire group charges forward with a roar. Leo studies their wind-enhanced speed and calls it a troublesome skill. Meanwhile, Suzu begs for food as Leo checks her starvation warning and tells her to hang in a little longer. He turns and reminds himself he needs to get Suzu something to eat. One attacker rushes at him, and Leo notes how fast he is. Another leaps in while Suzu's spiritual form shields him. Surrounded, Leo sighs and agrees to fight properly. Leo summons spiritual energy and says, "This makes things easier." The blast knocks the attackers back in a sweeping spiritual attack. They panic as their bodies stop responding. Leo looks at his hand as Suzu's hunger worsens and says he needs to feed her as soon as possible. He then calls out to Katsu and demands a monster item. He trembles and tells Leo not to think he's already won. He casts another spell and tries a stronger attack, while Leo stands steadily and commends his impressive skill. He calls Suzu for support and says their enemy has plenty of food. Suzu rushes forward and happily says she will help. Katsu stumbles back and angrily asks if Leo has learned his lesson. Leo stands firm as Suzu smashes him into the ground. He then casually asks again about the monster items. With Suzu looming behind him, Leo warns that if they have none, everyone here is going to die. Terrified, Katsu breaks down and offers everything he has, begging for his life. Leo inspects an item and notes that a rot eater's arm is pretty expensive. Katsu reluctantly tells him to take it and says it's all his. He also realizes Leo can make items disappear and fears Leo could erase them the same way. Katsu tells him they're even now and tries to calm things down. Leo smiles and asks for information on the speed player. The group hesitates as Katsu says the bounty is 6 million, tempting Leo to sell himself out. Leo frowns and says he doesn't want to make the company suspicious of him. Katsu nervously sweats as Leo calls the situation a predicament. Leo explains that he despises the speed player because that person is the reason he ended up like this. He asks if Katsu wants to end up the same way and shows the bonus item he received, but he recoils and says he'd rather not. Suddenly, Katsu's device lights up and he pauses. Noticing a mustering call, Leo checks the urgent notification with a calm smile as Katsu reacts in surprise. A massive red energy rises in the sky as players gather to see what caused the emergency call. Leo walks forward to take a look with the others while Suzu floats behind him. He asks if joining the assembly is a problem as he turns with a cold look. The men awkwardly agree, raising their hands as they nervously welcome him. Leo cheerfully asks if they should get going. A loud rupture opens in the sky as the dungeon rift forms over the city. Fuji, the mayor, acknowledges the happening while his secretary calls it the sign of a dungeon's advent and suggests evacuating the city. He notes that the city hasn't reached the level required for such a dungeon to appear. Players gather as the officials announce that strong combatants are assembling. Leo examines the rift and guesses it might be an incomplete or large-scale dungeon. Suzu drifts behind him and suddenly calls out to him. Her eyes sharpen as she claims she smells someone familiar. Leo stiffens and whispers, "Family in confusion." She confirms it with excitement as he looks up at her. He decides to stay and investigate, thinking he might learn more about Suzu's origin. Katsu approaches and casually greets him. The group reports that the dungeon is said to have destructive potential, though it doesn't seem that way. Leo asks if sharing that information is allowed as he smirks. Katsu replies that he shared it to make up for their earlier disrespect. Leo recalls the previous dungeon disasters that struck the country. He looks troubled as he wonders how the company knew about the new catastrophe so quickly. Katsu officially introduces himself while walking beside him. He highlights the job holders present, including a well-known redhead. Katsu calls Rua, a level B dragon handler. She smiles at him in response, while Katsu admits that they are invested in her. Leo immediately recognizes her from the future and thinks that everyone gathered here are future big shots. Katsu offers to help Leo if ever he is looking to invest, but he responds that he will consider it, silently noting that he might have jumped on that offer if he didn't have Suzu. Suddenly, Anai, a level B preceptor, arrives and pats Leo's head like a child, asking if he is also a job holder. Jen offers him a seat to his team since his members are full of beauties, leaving Leo in an awkward situation. Katsu suddenly informs Anai that he is soliciting Leo at the moment, while the latter angrily asks Anai to get off of him. As Leo gasps for air, he recognizes Anai, who will become a fallen emissary due to his mysterious ability. Anai tries to convince Leo, but Rua stops her captain and calls him embarrassing. Anai is visibly hurt, while Rua lets out a disappointed sigh. She suddenly glares at her captain and warns to kill him if he keeps on acting weird. Anai finds her scolding pleasurable, which makes Leo think he is mental. Rua apologizes for her captain's behavior as he drags him away, while she asks if he really wants Leo in their team. Anai confirms as he senses an extraordinary potential from him, not knowing the power of Suzu that he also possesses. Rua is in disbelief, while Katsu warns Leo to stay away from Anai. Suddenly, Suzu excitedly calls Leo, revealing that she has already found them. Leo realizes Suzu has found a scent and quickly wonders who she sensed as he rules out Anai, then stiffens when he spots Mena walking ahead and remembers seeing her back before, prompting him to scan the crowd and decides he should avoid anyone who knows him too well. Suzu tugs on Leo's sleeve while a woman smiles subtly nearby, followed by Doll's glamorous appearance under a parasol, making Suzu call out for him to look as Leo turns in confusion and stares at her while insisting there's nothing unusual. Suzu asks if he really can't see what's happening as Leo hesitates, then Doll stares directly at him and declares she has found him, prompting him to pull Suzu along while agreeing to move, before Katsu steps in and discusses the dungeon that is about to appear as the mayor begins a formal announcement. Fuji reveals an incomplete level C dungeon arriving soon, declaring it a major threat to the city, and while the mayor explains the cooperative's preparations, Katsu reacts to the dungeon's rank as Leo casually notes it's only level C, while nearby adventurers listen intently as the mayor asks them whether they'll brave the dungeon or retreat. The mayor calls out to all job holders as his speech continues with the question of how they will respond, before the new dungeon's name, Fairytale Kingdom, appears, prompting the group to comment that the entrance looks different than usual, and Katsu orders everyone to stay alert and report anything suspicious. Leo starts his survey as he imbues his eyes with spiritual power, but worries as Suzu's behavior grows unstable again, right before a fiery projectile shoots out and blasts into the nearby players, causing chaos as the group panics and realizes they're under attack. Katsu activates combat mode and summons a magic circle to create an opening for a counterattack, dodging incoming projectiles while reacting in shock, only to be struck by a blast that sends him flying, after which he thanks Leo for the assist as he recovers on the ground. Leo studies the glowing energy and warns that normal methods won't work since the enemy is at least level D, just before a monstrous presence charges in with heavy footsteps and declares it has found prey, revealing itself in full as Leo assesses the creature and admits this might be a troublesome opponent. The monster growls that lively prey is its favorite and prepares to hunt, rushing forward with overwhelming force as its movement shakes the area, while the other players retreat in fear, leaving Leo to conclude he can't rely on Suzu right now, only for her to suddenly regain her senses and ask if she can eat them as he gives reluctant permission. Suzu surges forward as her body erupts in red energy, spiraling with monstrous hunger while she lashes out wildly, overwhelming the area as the hunter stares in disbelief, and her attack tears through the surroundings until the final blow lands and pulverizes the target. The monster's body explodes from Suzu's attack as the players stare in shock, praising Leo for bouncing the attacks back so easily, while Leo narrows his eyes and turns toward the movement behind him, only to find Suzu floating above the remains and happily munching on the pieces as he sighs and decides to just go with it. Katsu admits they can't compare to him as Leo is given permission to handle the monster remains however he wants, and when asked what they should do next, he pauses to consider their options, ultimately deciding it's too risky to explore the forest further since Suzu suddenly used spiritual power, so he suggests regrouping with other teams in hopes of finding someone familiar with the route. Katsu simply follows his lead and silently notes that they must treat Leo carefully, while he insists this is their chance to build a relationship with him, making Katsu responsible for watching him closely as their boss warns that Leo knows his secret, forcing him to question whether he should be planning to kill him and whether he's even capable of doing that. The boss dismisses the idea as impossible since Leo knows far too much, ordering him instead to identify whoever is backing Leo's movement, but warns he'll be disposed of if he fails, and just then the dungeon fissure activates, drawing the mayor's attention as new activity rises, and a report comes in that 6 teams are currently working toward clearing it. The secretary explains there have been casualties, but the situation remains under control, when Mena suddenly arrives, shouting for the mayor and Jenna, requesting to join the dungeon as well. But the mayor calls her an important combat asset, who should stay on standby unless she has another reason for wanting to enter, leaving her unable to reveal why she can't say the truth. Mena considers using Luca's story as an excuse while explaining the fissure resembles the Black Forest, and an outsider might be pretending to be a player, noting the dungeon might appear sooner than expected, and after the mayor agrees to prepare a team, while Rua's group analyzes the red energy as Anai complains that his back is at its limit, while the others respond with amusement. Rua turns to the captain who requested her for this role and orders him to stay quiet, then activates her detection ability to pinpoint the target, unleashing a loud spiritual burst that spreads across the area as she calls them pests for interfering. The blast knocks nearby monsters off their feet as they groan in pain, confused about what just happened, while Rua asks for a moment to recover and admits she may have used too much power, sensing the dungeon has a strange atmosphere and wondering if she's rushing herself too much. Determined to hurry and see her older sister, she recalls a childhood memory where Suzu happily offered handmade toys, only for her imagination to twist it into an image of Suzu surrounded by others as she accuses Rua of searching for them as well and laughs that she found them first. Frustrated, Rua clicks her tongue and opens a case while muttering that they should just wait, then powers up to full strength and announces it's time to move out, causing her group to cheer as she asks which of them is the leader, before a massive purple surge erupts deep in the forest. Doll emerges from the energy, prompting her descent gracefully from above, and though she returns with her dress damaged, she smiles that her cost was high this time as she surveys the bodies scattered around her, wondering aloud if her new companions have all been wiped out. Doll activates her power, releasing a purple mist that forces the fallen hunters to rise again under her control. As their eyes glow and their bodies move unnaturally, she urges all of them to get up, only to pause when she senses something strange. A sudden explosion catches her attention, while nearby survivors panic at the strength of the approaching threat. A chilling voice announces the start of a delightful hunt, and a monstrous hunter captain emerges from the mist like a nightmare, dragging his blades forward as he approaches his next victims. The monstrous hunter captain lunges with terrifying speed, tearing apart one of the fleeing men and delighting in the pieces scattering everywhere. As he searches for his next prey, the remaining adventurers panic, but just as he charges again, Leo tries to stay calm, reminding himself that compared to her overwhelming presence, this threat is nothing. Meanwhile, he checks on Suzu, hoping she wakes soon, before the hunter captain's shadow looms over them. A conjoined stillborn ghost appears while the hunter captain declares that it has reached the end of its patience, preparing to unleash yet another attack. The hunter captain announces that the group will now serve as dinner for the writhing childlike monster beside him, prompting everyone to panic as the grotesque creature prepares to consume them. Leo quickly instructs his allies to ignore the smaller monster and keep targeting the hunter instead. But before they can act, the creature is commanded to feast, and it unleashes a powerful suction force, pulling everything toward its gaping maw. As Katsu is dragged in, Leo urges him to aim for its mouth, only for Katsu to realize he can't activate his spiritual power. With no other choice, Leo decides to use his trump card and shifts into his bow form, preparing a decisive shot. He fires a powerful blast directly into the monster, the impact erupting in a blinding green explosion. The blast sends debris flying as the monster shrieks, and Leo is thrown back by the wind pressure while trying to regain his footing. Doll suddenly descends, greeting the Great One with calm confidence and asking if she interrupted his hunt. Leo stares in confusion, unable to recognize who she is, while Doll scolds the monsters for harming the little one. Realizing that some enemies are still alive, Leo prepares to fight again, only for the hunter captain to charge at him in rage. Before he can strike, Doll gracefully drops down beside Himajin, offering to eliminate the unsightly fellows at his command. Doll's eyes glow with unwavering devotion as she declares she will do anything for the Great One, shocking Leo, who wonders what's wrong with her and whether she's referring to Suzu. Sensing an opportunity, he smirks, realizing that if he makes use of her strength, they might be able to defeat the hunters. When he asks if she can handle the enemies for him, she agrees with pleasure. With dignified poise, she introduces herself formally as a member of the Apparition Association and expresses her hope that they will get along, her presence radiating a blend of elegance and danger. Doll snaps her finger, surrounding the fallen soldiers with her pink aura. The soldiers turn into her zombies, until the lieutenant named Sugai offers his service. Doll's eyes gleam as she softly repeats the word, friends, her smile deepening with a chilling sweetness. At her request, the soldiers immediately lunge forward as they obey her without hesitation. The hunter captain panics and orders his subordinates to beat them back, but the corrupted soldiers charge ahead blindly, driven by purple energy. As they leap through the air to strike, one of them is suddenly slashed down mid-attack, screaming in pain as the tide turns violently. In Getsurin City, the mayor stands in front of the dungeon gate. He looks concerned after learning that Minna also went into the dungeon. His assistant runs to him, bringing grave news. She says that the players who had been registered as dead all revived simultaneously. He looks distressed to hear this, as we see the mind-controlled crowd spreading its influence to the monster. Soon, it is also under Doll's control. She welcomes all her new friends while Leo asks if they are still alive. Doll replies that they are, since they are her friends. Katsu, meanwhile, is impressed, now believing that Leo can manipulate corpses. The young man is surprised but then realizes the others can't see Doll. She stands there asking if he needs anything else. He asks why he is the only one who can see her and if she did anything to them. She replies that if he wants everyone to see her, then she can make them all friends. Leo passes on the offer as he wonders what her deal is. He asks if she wants anything, and she says she already has it. She puts her hand on his shoulder and says it is his friendship. She smiles, saying it is the most important thing. Leo pretends to be happy to hear this, but is now sweating profusely. He figures he will need to have Suzu take care of her. Right on cue, the zombie girl wakes up and says her tummy is full. She sees Doll, and the two ladies greet each other. This is not what Leo expected would happen, and he asks if Suzu knows her. His companion says no, so he wonders if Doll is who she saw at the plaza. He couldn't see her then, so he wonders why he can see her now. Katsu then asks him if they should head on towards the fortress. Leo hesitates since Suzu's condition is still unstable. As a result, he is worried that the company guys could get wiped out. According to rumors, there are 4 knights in the fairy tale castle. If the enemies outside are already this strong, then just imagine the power of the 4 knights. Thus, he decides to make use of Doll to clear the castle and then deal with her later. He calls her friend and asks her to lead them to the castle. She is happy to obey and says that all her hypnotized minions will help too. Leo gives the command to move forward as we see the castle in the middle of the woods. Inside, there is some commotion coming from a room. We see loads of gold coins on a table where loads of animal creatures are gambling in what turns out to be a casino. The Wolfman and Red Riding Hood announce that there are new faces on the way. She looks at a crystal ball and says that sucker number 1 has already entered the castle. Number 2's team has been wiped out, and number 3 is also missing. She then mentions that there is now a 5th team led by Mena. Finally, she says the one to watch is sucker number 4, led by Leo. The wolf suggests they place a bet on whether he makes it all the way inside. Anyone who wins gets the rights to the human team. Whoever has the most wins will get his brains. Leo and his team are now exploring the interior of the castle. He is happy that they got in easily as they head to the casino. Suzu says she is tired and will get smaller. He gives her permission, and she proceeds to shrink down. He wonders if her power is restricted in the castle and asks how she feels. His companions, meanwhile, think something isn't right, as they can't feel any spiritual power. He sees that they are all weakened, but is still glad he is better off than the others. Uninvited guests to the castle receive a restriction. Leo then asks Doll if she is okay. She seems puzzled by his question, and so he says it is nothing. She isn't restricted, so he realizes she is a boss monster or maybe even something more. He continues to wonder about her as they all assess their situation. Katsu hears something and then tells everyone that something is coming. True enough, there is a monster down the hall, quickly moving towards them. The tip of its sword scrapes the floor as they see that it is a level C+ centaur knight. Katsu and the others look on in fear. The knight's eyes glow red as it spots the intruders and charges right through them all. Leo is able to avoid the attack. Suzu asks if they should run, but he says no. In the casino, the monsters are all watching with glee and can't wait to see the humans destroyed. Doll asks if Leo has any orders. He asks if she can help him out, and she says, of course, and her eyes proceed to glow. The beasts in the casino can see her, and are shocked since she is her highness, the monster queen Doll. They wonder why she is with the humans as her hypnotized minions arrive in the hallway. The hunter captain opens fire on the centaur, who raises his shield to protect himself. The projectiles are blocked, but Doll uses this as a chance to get her threads on him. They connect to the knight, who then screams as she attempts to take over his mind. She asks him to submit and be her friend. The centaur asks why she is here, and then runs away in fear. Doll is surprised for a moment, then wonders if she broke him. Leo thanks her for her help, and then smiles at her. The monsters in the casino are all watching, and have now become quiet and tense. The monsters begin to whine about how incompetent the knight was. The lion slams his hand on the table and asks why her ladyship would help the outsiders, and asks for an explanation. Wolf replies that Lady Doll's hobby is making toys out of humans, and probably helped for that reason. Lion says that could explain it while still looking very worried. Wolf draws their attention to the crystal ball and says they can watch her turn the humans into toys. Leo, meanwhile, is still smiling while thinking that clearing the dungeon will be easy with her help. Suddenly, Doll begins laughing. She says the Great One's smile is so nostalgic, making her so happy. Immense power flows out from her as she tells him to show her more. The company looks on in confusion as Leo wonders why she is acting odd all of a sudden. The monsters in the casino get excited again, thinking she is now going to kill them. She walks towards Leo with a menacing aura. Her threads wrap him up as Suzu looks on with concern. Doll then pins him to the ground, asking if he remembered. She holds his face and asks again if he remembers his number 1 friend. The monsters are shocked to see this. They call Wolf a liar for suggesting she would turn him into a toy. Red Riding Hood then says that the target is disappearing. Katsu and the others look and wonder what is going on. Doll then asks if he has forgotten her, which would be so cruel. She holds Leo's face tightly and says she will make him remember. He has no idea what she is talking about as his body starts to disappear. Suzu jumps in to help her daddy, but Doll simply flicks her away. Leo asks his zombie girl for help as he and Doll then vanish from the hallway. Suzuku is dejected, then sees a group of knights walking towards them. They are all level C+. The monsters look on with excitement, even though there is one less sucker. The company men ask Katsu what to do as Leo is gone and the corpses are no longer moving. He tells them not to panic and to get ready to fight. He is interrupted by Suzu's aura, which suddenly manifests itself, momentarily blinding them. A new dungeon irregularity is detected as Suzu smells Leo's scent. She grows big again and is determined to find her daddy. The knights are surprised at this new opponent. She then plows through them, sending them flying all over the place while calling them yucky. Katsu is baffled about where the large Suzuko came from. He forgets about the mystery, and instead focuses on seeing if his companions are okay. Meanwhile, the monsters monitoring the events are equally shocked that Suzu, the boss monster they know as the Queen of Disintegration, has appeared. Wolf wonders if this means Leo brought her here and now sees the boy as some kind of intimidating figure. Meanwhile, Doll and Leo have reappeared at the throne room of the castle, and Doll drags the boy nearer to the throne. She asks that he remember their history together. It leads Leo to think that the woman must have mistaken him for someone else. He asks what she is talking about, but she thinks that he is just acting dumb and calls him the one who surpassed the monster god. Doll clings to him, insisting that she is not mistaking who he is. Leo can tell that she has a connection with Suzu's father and thinks he is him. Doll shows him that the one sitting on the throne is a lifeless mannequin version of herself. She calls her real body. She asks if he knows her original name. It makes Leo nervous that he can't answer that, and he worries about what will happen to him if he gives the wrong answer. Doll insists that he say her original name. She looks like she will be enraged if he answers wrong. She says that since they are best friends, there is no way he does not know. Leo is sweating. She tells the woman that there is no way he can answer her. This angers Doll, who accuses him of forgetting who she is. Leo acts calm and collected as he tells her that she can kill him if she wants, since this means sparing him the effort of remembering the past. He asks her how much she remembers about him. Doll answers that she remembers that he had many children and that she was one of them, but struggles to remember more. She cannot believe that she forgot so much about him. Leo tells her that the monster god must have altered her memory the way they did his. Doll tries to process that this is all the monster god's fault. Leo thinks about how he simply took advantage of Doll's memory problems already to dispel her suspicions of him. He puts his hand on her head and tells her not to be disheartened because it is not any of their fault but the monster gods. Suddenly, a wall explodes. Out comes Suzu, who has found Leo. Doll is suddenly charging at Leo and says she will use everything necessary to make him remember her name. The status window notifies Leo that Doll is the Fairy Tale Kingdom boss, so he sees no choice but to use his power against her. He uses his spirit energy to create an energy barrier that shields him from Doll. Doll simply passes through the barrier and puts her hands on his face. Suzu sees her father in danger, so she uses her spiritual pressure to push Doll away from him. Doll asks Suzu why she has stopped her when they know each other, and she even knows that her real name is White. Suzu calls her a liar and says that White is the mannequin. Doll sees that she only acknowledges her original body as White, so she puts on a masquerade mask on her face and pulls out daggers in each hand to get ready for battle. Leo can tell that she has become stronger because of the mask. He now realizes that the only reason they entered the castle to begin with was that she was returning home. He hates her for not realizing that he was with one of the 3 bosses of the Fairy Tale Kingdom all along. Suzu tells Leo that he brought many of his friends along. Katsu and the others then appear from the wall hole Suzu made. Doll pulls out multiple energy strings. Before Leo can figure out what they are, he needs to block Doll's dagger attacks. She asks him if he remembers anything now. Suzu swats Doll with her huge hand, only to realize she caught nothing but air. Doll reappears in front of them. Leo insists that she give up since she does not stand a chance against so many of them. Doll replies that she will use his friends against him since she does not want to part with him yet. Leo then sees that the others are caught by Doll's energy strings. They transform into clones of Doll. Doll then charges at Leo. This angers Suzu more, who makes an intimidating glare filled with spirit pressure. Meanwhile, outside the castle, Mena and the others can see a rift opening. Mena tells the others that they need to clear the dungeon quickly before it is too late. Meanwhile, there is also a new rift in a street of Getsuren City. Suddenly, job holders near the rift get shot in the face. Out of the right comes the hunter captain. He shoots at anyone who gets near him. It is not long until the street is filled with destruction. Meanwhile, at the Fairy Tale Kingdom Casino, Wolf and the other monsters are paying full attention to Red Riding Hood to know if she has already found the Queen of Disintegration. Suddenly, one of the walls breaks. Rua and her team come in, acting like they are friendly passers-by, saying good evening. Rua looks around and is disappointed that she has not found Leo yet. Wolf tells her that she is being arrogant as a mere human to dare trespass into their territory. Rua is insulted by his calling her a mere human and becomes enraged that she gives off the presence of a giant dragon. She uses her swords to kill many monsters. Seeing her so strong makes Wolf so afraid that he suddenly acts submissive and calls them VIPs of the casino. She sees the orb-like monitor and asks what it is. Wolf answers that it is their entertainment device, which allows them to observe the humans in the dungeon. She asks if they can find an arrogant, purple-haired teen boy with it. Wolf instantly tells Red Riding Hood to search for the boy. The monitor shows Leo. Rua looks intimidating as she demands that Wolf tell her where he is, so she can invite him into their team. Wolf is about to answer, and a tremor appears. Rua senses a powerful spiritual pressure and thinks it must be Leo. Rua runs towards the window while she tells Anai that she will be back. He jumps out of the window and falls high above the castle. She uses black spirit energy to transform herself into a creature with sharp claws and wild, long hair. Meanwhile, Leo is pushed back by an explosion. He gets sent to the other doll clones, but they all look like Whisperflower, the boss of the Black Forest. He can tell that spiritual corruption is warping his perspective. There are so many of them, and they are coming from all directions. Leo pushes them away. Still, the doll clones charge at him. He is able to evade their attacks with his Eye of Truth ability. He finds that everything they do is clear as day to him now, so he is able to defeat them in quick succession. The moment he defeats the clones, they change back to the humans who were possessed earlier. It makes him motivated to take all the clones out. The other clones see that Leo has turned invisible and wonder if he is using Suzu's ability. She is amazed that he can use others' power and expect nothing else from the person she calls her friend. She attacks him with her energy strings, but Leo dodges them. He summons a bow and arrow. He fires, which unleashes a tornado that touches many cones. However, none of them are annihilated nor even injured. It makes Leo realize he needs to use his trump card. He activates Monster Devouring with the caveat that he gets affected by spiritual corruption more than ever. Now Leo looks like a monster with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. Leo grabs the arm of the doll clone attacking him. He acquires her Spirit Thread and Spirit Leap ability, and using her own power, he changes the clone back to its human host. Leo then looks upwards to the ceiling and sees that the real doll is floating up there. With the Spirit Leap ability, Leo jumps behind Doll and stabs her. This leads to Doll falling to the ground and being in a weak state. Leo grabs her by the neck and pins her down, then demands that she release everyone from her threads already. Doll merely laughs and tells him that she has caught him. All of the clones charge at Leo. Suddenly, an explosion occurs that pushes all the clones away. Meanwhile, Anai and Wolf are watching the battle through the orb monitor, and Anai asks who the giant woman with many arms is. Wolf answers that she is the queen of disintegration and worries that Lo has seduced her to his side. It makes Anai proud that he saw such potential in Leo to begin with. Anai also sees a new person who has come into the field. He wonders if it is Rua, but he is not sure since the one who appeared has a sinister aura unlike hers. It is revealed that it is indeed Rua, but in her more monstrous form. Suzu finds her familiar and wonders if she is one of her daddy's friends. Leo wonders if she is connected with Suzu's real father somehow, but his head hurts too much from spiritual corruption to analyze the situation further. Leo worries as the demonic-looking Rua glares at him. Rua has heard Suzu call Leo daddy, and it angers her. She demands that Leo answer why Suzu is following him. Doll asks Rua what she intends to do with Leo, so Rua calls her by her real name, White, and tells her not to interfere. Doll charges at her while declaring that Leo belongs to her. It leads Rua to release her powerful spirit energy against Doll. The situation is getting so much worse that Leo tells Suzu that it is time to leave. Hilariously, Suzu grabs her daddy and declares that he is hers. Leo tells her that she does not need to fight them on that. Meanwhile, Wolf, who is watching the battle, is scared that they will destroy the dungeon. Meanwhile, the advent of the fairy tale kingdom commences. It transports Leo into Gitzerin City, but now the environment looks like a combination of the city and the kingdom. He wonders if Suzu is okay. He checks her status, and it informs him that she is currently comatose. Suddenly, a notification informs him that there is a limited time event activated called Blood Hunting. He reads that players can vanquish monsters and that those who receive the most kills will receive an item. He is also informed that defeating a unique monster means receiving a unique item. The unique monsters listed are Doll and the Shadow of Apprehension, which is Rua. To his surprise, Suzu is also one of the listed unique monsters. Leo fears that this is all part of someone's master plan to capture Suzu. A group of knights sneaks behind Leo. One raises its sword at him, but he manages to block its blade. He says they are pissing him off, and then uses spirit energy to push the attacker away. Leo then realizes his body is getting more and more painful due to spiritual corruption. He cannot concentrate, as he feels his head is going to split open. Now the knights are looking more and more like the Whisper Flower to him. He tries to fix his focus by stabbing his own hand with his dagger. The knights charge at him, but he manages to eliminate one and create distance from them. He sees that his reflexes are still good. He concentrates first on healing the stab wound he created on his hand. He looks and sees that the number of knights coming for him has increased. Lightning energy suddenly shoots at him, which puts him in an explosion. It is revealed that Leo activated his spirit barrier at the last second before the explosion. He searches for the two who attacked him and sees even higher ranked knights on the roof of a building. They throw a barrage of lightning at him, so he runs and evades as fast as he can. There are so many that one hits him. He sees that he cannot focus straight with his spiritual corruption acting up. He tries to look at his system status, but it is not giving him any information right now. He is so distracted that he does not realize that the lightning firing knights are already behind him. They fire another energy blast. It makes Leo realize, in fear, that they can also fight in close quarters. They fire another lightning bolt. Leo catches it and is about to throw it back, but he notices that his hand is now black from spiritual corruption. Meanwhile, the knights are charging at him. Just as the knights are at point-blank range of him, he throws the lightning, causing an explosion. He then grabs one of the knights' helmets with his blackened hand to transfer spiritual corruption to him. He finds that the knight he touched is in agony until he dies. He realizes that high-density spirit corruption can take out monsters easily. He dares the other knights to come near him. Leo steadies himself and declares that if the enemy won't come to him, he'll bring the fight to them, leaping down with a surge of force. He crashes into the armored knights with a powerful kick that shatters the ground, sending shockwaves through their ranks. The impact rattles their formation, and one knight swings in retaliation, only for his blade to violently clash against her weapon as sparks fly. Leo's attempt to summon an ally fails with a system error as his attack is blocked. He flips the situation and decides to try a different method instead. He activates a summoning skill with glowing eyes, triggering a system response, while Wolf angrily orders his subordinates to kill him for ruining their wager. As they surround Leo, Wolf rants about Leo seducing the Queen of Disintegration and turning her into his ally, frustrated that his own plans were spoiled. Wolf notes that his restriction breaks, thanking Leo for causing his premature emergence and promising to separate Leo's head from his shoulders as repayment. He unleashes a violent surge of red energy that sends shockwaves across the field, while Leo counters by channeling spiritual power to forcibly summon and fuse monsters into a stronger form. Green vortexes swirl around him as glowing cores appear, and after multiple successful summons, the system demands confirmation despite repeated errors. Leo shrugs and presses confirm anyway, causing the swirling cores to merge into a massive fusion as the process violently escalates. Leo watches in awe as the summoned monsters merge into one unstable force that detonates outward, startling Wolf and forcing the knights to retreat in confusion. Wolf berates his knights for their incompetence, only to be interrupted when the fused monster erupts from the ground in a burst of green power. The shockwave blasts the knights into the air, leaving Wolf stunned as pieces of the merged core embed into the ground. A glowing knight-like monster rises from the smoke, wielding green energy as it roars and prepares for battle. The fusion knight surges with power as the system announces a successful monster summon of a B+ rank creature, causing the ground to tremble with every step it takes. The Wolfman stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend what Leo has done, while the system rapidly boosts Leo's experience points. Amid the chaos, Leo steadies himself and prepares to activate his summon skill again as the battlefield shifts in his favor. Leo calmly explains that he can forcibly summon monsters using spiritual power and fuse them into something far stronger, finding it fitting for his current appearance. He locates the Wolfman and confronts him with a sinister smile, prompting the monster to question whether Leo is even human anymore. Around that same time, players across the city begin receiving sudden system notifications related to new events, unaware of the carnage unfolding nearby. Players gather in crowds as the event notifications spread, each receiving the limited time, blood hunting announcement that asks whether they want to participate. As countless fingers press yes, the digital matrix around them erupts into cascading lights, and the city outskirts ignite with beams and explosions as the event forcibly activates for all involved. A vortex of blue and black tendrils pulls Leo in as the system welcomes him to blood hunting, dragging him through a chaotic dimensional shift. Another participant is swallowed by the same energy, and the system declares that the magnificent Slaughterfest is officially beginning, marking the start of a new deadly phase. A brilliant golden explosion erupts in the sky as monsters are blasted back, and the shockwave crashes into the ground with a deafening boom. Mike, a level A battle maniac, steps forward and impressed by the power, but confidently declaring that he'll still take first place as lightning gathers around him. Standing atop the massive beast he subdued, he warns everyone to stay out of his way unless they want to die. The surrounding players panic as they recognize him as Mike, a high-level battle maniac, realizing that with someone like him here, they won't get any kills at all. Mike turns at the sound of approaching footsteps and spots a swarm of shadowy hunters rushing toward him through the smoke. One of the monsters leaps ahead, catching a bright golden blast head-on, as its eyes widen in shock. The explosion engulfs the creature in a blinding flash, and moments later a glowing figure emerges from within the light, radiating overwhelming power. The glowing figure lands beside Mike, causing him to groan in annoyance as he realizes this one will be trouble. Pess, a level A+, holy emissary, steps forward with divine radiance as her staff hums with power. Suddenly, there is a shift in the mood, leaving Mike and Pess bewildered. A towering mutated monster roars at her, but she dismisses it as an irritating insect and instantly blasts it away in a flash of light. Mike braces himself against the shockwave, only to realize she's far stronger than she looks. Someone apologizes for the sudden surge, explaining she ranked up and floats in a glowing barrier as the surrounding players stare in disbelief, introducing himself as Eric, a level S master of ingenuity, who admits he hasn't gotten used to his newfound strength. He suggests they all compete to see who can take the most kills first. Meanwhile, Leo confronts the Wolfman atop the rubble, taunting him and asking if he's lost his nerve. Enraged, the Wolfman dives down in a violent charge. The Wolfman shouts that Leo is nothing without the Queen of Disintegration at his side, but Leo smirks and challenges him to come fight directly. The monster roars and lunges only to be blasted by green arrows of spiritual corruption that tear through his body. Leo advances calmly as the Wolfman screams while the corruption spreads through him. The Wolfman tries to laugh off the attack, claiming humans are weak, but panic overtakes him when he notices his arm warping uncontrollably. Leo explains that spiritual corruption affects the mind, proudly noting that it already drove several knights insane. As the corruption reaches the Wolfman's face, Leo mocks his grotesque new appearance, driving the monster into agony. The Wolfman collapses and begs for mercy, but Leo merely comments that it wasn't so hard. Standing over him, Leo realizes the system wants Suzu and the dungeon-born monsters dead, meaning all players are being forced to hunt them. He kneels beside the Wolfman and calmly warns him that the system itself is coming to kill him before suggesting they create new game rules if he wants to survive. Meanwhile, the corrupted hunters panic as Leo's knights begin slaughtering them under his command. The masked hunter stares in disbelief, confused why knights are obeying a human. Leo laughs and orders his fusion knight to kill the unruly mobs and seize control of the area. As the battle stabilizes in his favor, the system notifies him of another rank up, confirming his rapid growth. The Wolfman proudly praises his master, bowing alongside Little Red as Leo assigns cleanup to the fusion knight. He commands the others to help him search for the Queen of Disintegration, calling Suzu a valuable asset. Red Riding Hood offers a rare artifact that may help locate her, leading to the system announcing a rare item. Holding the glowing sphere, Leo admits he's curious about its effects and that the system still feels unstable. Leo questions the Wolfman about the missing casino tools, only for him to panic and say none remain before the destroyed dungeon. Red Riding Hood accepts the search request as Leo hands her the glowing sphere. The Wolfman then presents a mask he found in the ruins, identifying it as Lady Doll's item. Leo realizes the mask he swiped is reacting to his spiritual power and watches as it begins to merge with him. Green energy seeps into his body until the mask fully synchronizes, prompting Leo to test it. The Wolfman comments on the good flow, while Leo activates the mask and prepares to try its effects. With the mask suppressing his spiritual corruption, Leo notes that even his headache and numbness have eased. The Wolfman asks if they should search for other items, and Leo orders them to also locate Lady Doll. After acknowledging the command, the system recalibrates and displays the blood hunting rankings, showing that it has recovered. An explosive impact shakes the area as another arrival approaches, shocking the Wolfman. Mike steps forward, confused by Leo's alliance with monsters. He asks for Leo's ID, only for Leo to answer while his glowing green eyes reveal that a new player has entered the field. Leo apologizes as he activates his new authority, declaring that under the new rules, players are forbidden from entering. Surrounded by obedient knights, he states they have no need for players and politely tells the newcomer to leave. Mike shouts back, calling Leo arrogant and mocking his attitude. Mike unleashes Solid Barrier and boasts that weak knight attacks cannot reach him, claiming he is invincible. But the knights strike with unexpected force, overwhelming him as he panics at their strength, realizing their power exceeds level A. The system then notifies that Leo has repelled Battle Maniac Mike and gained a score. Leo orders his knights to throw the defeated player out of the dungeon, reaffirming the rules: any player or monster who refuses to submit will be eliminated. As the system announces the score he earned, Leo notes how it keeps granting him points. When the Wolfman asks for new commands, Leo swiftly assigns him control of the fused knight unit. Soon after, a countdown timer appears, informing Leo that he has 12 hours remaining. Seeing the new time limit, Leo declares they will take full control of the dungeon. His knights immediately begin suppressing enemies, and as they continue clearing the area, Leo reviews his updated status. Noticing his spiritual power is in the negative and seeing Suzu's worsening condition, he decides to wait for information from Red Riding Hood. He also checks the monster classifications tied to her unusual spiritual reaction. Leo learns that the number of monsters he can summon scales with his level, and he also examines the warped ornament belonging to Lady Doll. Although some of its functions are unknown, he realizes it absorbs his overflowing spiritual power, easing his pain. Curious about the accessory's hidden abilities, he analyzes it further. Red Riding Hood then arrives, reporting that while she hasn't found the queen yet, she discovers Leo's companions and shows him something concerning. Leo observes the surviving group and instructs Red Riding Hood to focus entirely on locating the queen. She responds confidently, noting that while handling the company survivors will be simple, Rua will be more complicated. Meanwhile, the group proposes a plan: pretend to be captured, infiltrate the monster's ranks, and then strike directly at the boss. They believe defeating the boss will allow them to take control of the monsters. Rua explains that once the monster boss is eliminated, all monsters will obey them. As she finishes, heavy footsteps echo through the hall as Leo approaches, flanked by kneeling knights. Leo approaches the shocked group and calmly asks to speak with Rua alone, ignoring the others' reactions. As they question him, he sits across from her and brings up the past, specifically the moment she tried to kill Doll, causing her to tense as her monstrous form flashes into view. Leo leans in and reveals he knows she's searching for Suzu too, showing the stolen mask as proof. She panics and tries to deny everything, but Leo exposes her excitement beneath the anger. His words corner her completely, forcing out the monster inside her as she snaps and unleashes her power. She attacks, but Leo stays unfazed and reminds her he's Suzu's father now. He explains that without him, she'll never find her sister. Enraged, she vows to destroy anyone who hurts Suzu, but Leo points out that in a human body, she wouldn't stand a chance. She considers fighting but knows her real body would overpower him instantly. Leo calmly tells her to obey if she understands her situation, preparing to unleash the item's power while asking her to stop him if anything goes wrong. She threatens him but ultimately watches as he begins the process. She reflects on how she underestimated him, realizing he's not as foolish as she thought after deciphering the remnants of another spiritual power and overriding it. Leo initiates the synchronization, filling the room with spiraling energy as the girl watches in awe, realizing how clever his plan is. The stolen ornament activates, pulling him into a digital-like realm. He questions whether Doll's spiritual power is influencing him as he materializes in a distorted hospital hallway, wondering if he must confront her spirit. In this illusionary hospital, Leo finds a sobbing boy, promising to protect Doll. Leo realizes that he is inside a buried memory of Doll, and realizes that the sobbing boy is him. The boy cries while certain that their sensei will make Doll better, until a projection of the creator appears and confirms his promise. He praises Leo as his exceptional student and agrees to perform White's surgery. Meanwhile, Leo, surrounded by corruption, rejects the false memory and regains clarity, eliminating the traces of Doll's spiritual power. He's unsettled, he doesn't remember that scene at all. Rua checks on Leo, asking if he overexerted his spiritual power. Leo asks whether she knows Doll and confirms the ornament belongs to her. Suddenly, he grabs her collar, demanding Doll's real name. She struggles as he presses harder, making her reveal what she knows. Leo utters her real name as White, which shocks Rua that he knew about it. Leo says she should know even more and vows to drag the truth out of her when he finds her. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Getasuran City, Eric comments how he likes the monster's mysterious nature, calling them fascinating and perfect. Doll appears with Suzu in a terrifying state, radiating overwhelming spiritual pressure. Doll urges Suzu to flee, saying she'll buy her time because they cannot defeat the approaching enemy. A powerful beam pierces the ground which stuns Mena, while Eric finds it interesting after recognizing Mena and thinking she came to steal his prey. Minna responds, but she clarifies that he is the prey this time. Suzu senses Minna's presence and recognizes her scent instantly, calling her a witch. Minna readies her power, confirming Suzu's suspicion that she's Leo's daughter. She declares she'll rip Leo apart, but Eric calmly provokes her to try. Minna launches a massive energy strike, slamming it into the battlefield as everyone watches the explosion tear through the cityscape. The Wolfman questions the strange phenomenon as Eric traps Minna inside her null domain, which nullifies all abilities. Enraged by his trickery, she lunges at him, only for Eric to casually admit he just wanted to test something. He activates Doll's heart, revealing the spiritual core he carries. Eric attempts to unleash Doll's spiritual power beam on Minna, but the system forcefully seizes control of her body. She screams as the command overrides her, but Suzu angrily stops Eric, but she is too late, and he tells Minna to defeat Suzu in his stead. Her eyes glow blankly, turning her into puppet no one. Minna summons origin magic, causing Suzu to be covered with massive vines. She tries to fight it off, but Doll is immediately ensnared. Suzu charges again, her power erupting wildly as the battlefield collapses into chaos. Eric marvels at running into two special targets at once, checking the blood hunting rankings while planning his next move. He commands Minna to finish them off, forcing her to cast powerful magic despite her compromised state. Suzu retaliates but is still restrained by massive vines. Suddenly, someone loudly stops the attack, stunning Eric. Leo's energy surges after realizing that Eric is after Suzu. He raises his hand and orders for her return as his aura covers Eric's domain. Eric panics as he senses Leo's overwhelming spiritual pressure, unable to understand how a measly level F could possess such strength. Leo's power detonates downward, shielding Hayashi while collapsing the ground. Suzu's fury intensifies as she calls out to her dad. Rua tries to call Suzu, but the monster doesn't recognize her. Rua rushes in to free her from the vines, while she realizes too late that Doll's heart, her treasured core, has been stolen. The horror dawns on her, and she screams about Doll's chest being violated as the truth sinks in. Leo refuses to let Doll die yet, stating he still has too many questions for her. Eric jumps in, mocking Leo's level, but is shocked that Leo's update speed surpasses his own. As the null domain activates, Eric smirks, believing close combat will give him the advantage once Leo's attacks fizzle out. Leo shatters the null domain through sheer spiritual force alone, stunning Eric. The enemy responds using his Rod of Authority, but Leo blasts him into the ground with overwhelming power. Luckster Mr. Item appears, revealing his mastery of tools and luck-based abilities as he subdues Eric with ease. Beaten into the crater left by Leo's overwhelming spiritual force, Eric still refuses to accept defeat. A system alert announces a core explosion as Eric taunts Leo, revealing he knows far more than expected. Eric activates a self-destruct ability and threatens to take everyone down with him, but the Wolfman quickly realizes that he isn't bluffing and urges them to retreat while the opponent coldly evaluates the danger. While Leo calmly acknowledges the situation, the core explosion is abruptly aborted due to extreme spiritual corruption as green energy surges violently. Leo questions whether Eric truly granted permission for such power, while the corruption spirals out of control. A massive shockwave erupts, forcing the battlefield into chaos, before Leo calmly entrusts Minna's safety to the Wolfman. Doll's heart is revealed to be in Leo's possession, stabilizing the situation momentarily. The group regroups as Leo confirms he cannot allow White to die yet, prompting visible relief among the others. Doll weakly thanks Leo, while Suzu asks him if they can all go out to eat. But before that, Leo confronts Rua as she acknowledges Suzu's unstable transformation and makes it clear it isn't his fault. Leo deflects the concern, instead asking Rua to look after Suzu temporarily. Behind them, spiritual corruption flares again, as a system ranking update confirms the blood hunting event's conclusion. System notifications cascade as the dungeon begins collapsing and resetting. The vortex of blue light signals the dungeon's end, while the Wolfman and Knight wonder if everything is finally returning to normal. Despite the apparent calm, unease lingers as remnants of the dungeon's power refuse to fade quietly. Doll slowly regains consciousness as Rua supports her, sensing something deeply wrong. Suzu notices that everyone involved seems strangely connected, possibly tied to Leo's past. From a distance, observers acknowledge the dungeon's clearance, unaware of the deeper threads still unraveling. A new group reveals themselves as profiteering hunters who arrive to claim spoils after the fight. A red mask is forcibly placed onto a corrupted man, triggering violent reactions as blood-red energy explodes outward. The situation rapidly turns hostile as Suzu's fangs flash and control slips away. Chaos erupts as Suzu lashes out, screaming for everyone to get out of her way. Rua recoils in shock as a monstrous presence manifests, far beyond expectations. The group are stunned after thinking that the dungeon was already cleared. Suzu strikes with overwhelming force, vowing to protect her wounded dad. A radiant light blinds Suzu as priest-like figures arrive and immediately launch a coordinated assault. Pest leads the attack and tells everyone to hit her with all they got, while Suzu towers over them. As chaos spreads through the ruined city, civilians suddenly notice a radiant figure descending from the sky. A golden barrier forms as Morin, the saint, arrives, instantly calming the crowd and wiping away their fear. With a serene smile, she reassures everyone that they are safe, her presence alone restoring hope and order in the devastated streets. The saint casually neutralizes the remaining threats, sealing enemies and suppressing corruption with overwhelming ease. Her movements are effortless, almost bored, as she declares the situation under control and formally reveals herself. Turning her attention forward, she prepares to deal with the remaining danger personally. Pest responds to the saint's call, while Suzu is revealed and safely retrieved from the chaos. As her sealed power stabilizes, a familiar presence reaches out, calling Leo's name from within the light. The scene abruptly shifts, and Leo awakens beside Doll in a peaceful field, both of them alive and unharmed. As they recover, Doll shows concern for Leo, while he brushes it off and tries to stay composed. Memories begin resurfacing in fragments, and Leo realizes Doll remembers things she shouldn't. Confusion sets in as he questions whether these memories truly belong to her or to himself. He wonders if he was the one who turned Doll into a monster, but he can't say for sure. Doll confronts Leo emotionally, insisting that they were friends before everything fell apart. Leo confirms it, even as he struggles with the implications. Noticing her weakened state, he gently helps her stand and offers support, choosing to stay by her side rather than push her away. Their quiet moment continues as Doll clings to Leo, asking what he would do if he lost his memories. Leo reassures her without hesitation, stating he would still help her remember. Yet as she mentions someone called Sensei, Leo's expression darkens, sensing something deeply wrong. A chilling realization strikes Leo as fragments of suppressed memories resurface. He recalls the monster god manipulating events from the shadows, influencing both Suzu and himself. The truth dawns that Suzu's transformation and suffering may not have been accidental, but the result of deliberate interference. The scene violently shifts as Leo is suddenly expelled from the illusion, crashing back into reality. Rising from the wreckage with glowing eyes, he admits that this would have broken the old him, but not anymore. Steeling himself, Leo embraces who he has become, ready to confront the truth head-on. Leo fights his way through the cooperative guards as green energy surges violently from his body, overwhelming anyone who gets close. Realizing they are official job holder personnel only adds to his frustration, and he decides he needs to escape before things escalate further. As the situation spirals, the incident is already being framed publicly as a major emergency at the cooperative building. Reports spread that a saint has appeared at the scene while Leo disguises himself as a lab worker, causing confusion and panic among the cooperative staff. Rumors quickly follow, suggesting the saint has come specifically to observe a unique monster. At the same time, Leo senses something deeply wrong with his condition, realizing he can no longer even access Suzu's information panel due to his corruption. Security forces mobilize throughout the building, initiating a full search as Leo slips away unnoticed. Believing Suzu may be the real target, Leo decides to take matters into his own hands and track her down himself. As he moves deeper into the facility, he prepares for the worst, even considering destroying the entire place if necessary. Leo reaches the containment zone and finds it eerily empty, with no signs of guards or monsters left behind. The lack of bodies and resistance only deepens his unease, making him wonder if Suzu has already been captured. Sensing lingering spiritual energy, Leo realizes something powerful has intervened here. Leo discovers Suzu inside a containment chamber, surrounded by unsettling figures and unfamiliar energy. Shocked by the sight, he struggles to process what he's seeing as a saint calmly stands beside her. The situation is clearly not a rescue, but something far more calculated and dangerous. Suzu suddenly reacts, calling out to Leo and rushing toward him without hesitation. Overwhelmed by emotion, she clings to him tightly, calling him Daddy, leaving Leo frozen in disbelief. Her behavior feels instinctive, affectionate, and completely unfiltered, catching everyone off guard. Armed guards rush in, surrounding Leo and Suzu as the saint calmly observes from a distance. Leo quickly realizes this is a trap designed to isolate and study Suzu rather than contain her by force. The saint praises Leo's strength, acknowledging his ability to deceive and suppress a level A monster. The saint approaches with unsettling confidence, revealing that saints exist as humanity's final line of defense against dungeon disasters. She implies that Suzu holds a far greater role, possibly tied to the very god of monsters itself. As Leo listens, he senses that Suzu is being positioned as a weapon rather than a person. The saint orders Suzu to leave the room, making it clear she intends to speak with Leo alone. Suzu hesitates but obediently follows the command, leaving Leo increasingly disturbed by her absolute compliance. As the saint settles in, she prepares to question Leo directly, signaling that the real confrontation is only just beginning. Suzu playfully removes Leo's mask and clings close to him, treating the moment like a game, while Leo awkwardly allows it. She cheerfully leaves the room on her own, acting innocent and carefree, which leaves Leo slightly shaken as he realizes how calmly she handled the situation. The saint abruptly shifts tone, asserting she could kill Leo at any moment and testing his reaction, but he firmly pushes back and refuses to be intimidated. When she questions his compliance, Leo reveals his own methods, releasing a surge of green corruption that shocks her as she realizes her hand is being affected. Leo drops his guard and calls out the saint's act, claiming she would have killed him already if she truly intended to. She retaliates by forcefully injecting corruption into him, analyzing how he suppresses it with an item, and expresses fascination at his unconventional method of controlling spiritual corruption. The saint explains that only saints can dispel corruption, while Leo admits she knows more about him than expected. She begins recounting his past, revealing his orphaned upbringing, his discovery in the mountains, and how he survived by illegal app sales before failing to awaken a job after his dungeon escape. She continues by framing Leo's life as one shaped by exploitation and misfortune, noting how Suzu gained nearly everything she lacked. Leo acknowledges the truth, recognizing why Suzu listens to the saint, while the saint claims Suzu lacks real knowledge of humans or monsters despite her power. The saint reveals her true intent, offering Leo a chance to change his fate by joining her collective and working under her authority. Though tempted, Leo ultimately rejects the offer, stating he has no interest in becoming her subordinate, despite admitting the proposal almost convinced him. The saint presses Leo on why he refuses her offer, hinting that she knows how to remove spirit corruption. Leo hesitates but listens as she explains a method that transfers corruption to another job holder, reducing its effect on the original host. Leo immediately rejects it, calling the method cruel and inhumane, noting that even mild cases can drive someone insane or kill them. The saint realizes Leo knows far more about spirit corruption than expected and resolves to keep him close no matter what. Leo bluntly confirms her suspicions, then casually announces he will be on his way. As he turns to leave, a sudden burst of power erupts, stopping him in place and signaling that she has no intention of letting him walk away freely. Golden restraints snap around Leo as the saint declares he cannot leave without her permission, claiming it is for his own good. Leo calmly resists, his corrupted energy surging in response as he challenges her authority, repeatedly questioning what she will do if he refuses her demands. Leo releases an overwhelming wave of spiritual power, shocking even the saint as monster summoning activates around him. Mechanical monsters materialize under his control, proving his strength is not illusion or magic but something far more dangerous. The saint watches closely, intrigued rather than alarmed, openly acknowledging Leo's growing potential. Instead of escalating the fight, the saint lowers her guard and proposes a deal, stating she has no desire to fight him. Leo pauses, surprised but interested, and asks what kind of deal she has in mind, signaling a tense negotiation rather than open conflict. Morin lays out her opening condition, promising to reward Leo with valuable items if he clears the Black Forest dungeon. She explains that the cooperative will cover Suzu's needs in the future, framing the offer as mutually beneficial. Leo listens carefully, already weighing the hidden costs behind her seemingly generous proposal. Sensing manipulation, Leo tests her limits by threatening to leave with Suzu, making it clear he won't be controlled. Morin calmly challenges him, revealing that she knows far more about monsters and higher beings than she lets on. Her confidence hints at a deeper power structure watching Leo closely. Leo proposes a compromise, agreeing to nominally join the cooperative while keeping his independence intact. He demands access to information on monsters, unique dungeons, and Suzu's condition. Morin accepts, stating she will personally monitor him, framing their relationship as teacher and pupil, which Leo agrees with. Before parting, she insists Leo undergo a mandatory job certification test, claiming it's necessary for legitimacy. Suzu is temporarily taken under her protection, while Leo reluctantly agrees, aware that refusal would only draw more suspicion. Even as he leaves, he considers escaping once Suzu is safe. Inside the cooperative, officials react nervously to Leo's growing influence and his ability to command monsters. Reports confirm he stopped destruction caused by rogue job holders, but his power raises alarms. Some argue he could destabilize the system if left unchecked. Despite concerns, Moran asserts authority, declaring Leo her pupil and insisting he take the test. Plans are set in motion immediately, with staff instructed to proceed carefully. The mood shifts as it becomes clear Leo is no longer just a player, but a variable the system must adapt to. As Leo prepares for the test, Morin reflects on higher beings, including the god of monsters. She realizes she must depend on Leo to track and confront them, even if it means bending long-standing rules. The cooperative gathers witnesses, ensuring transparency for what comes next. Leo enters the testing area, waiting calmly as his number is called. System messages appear, revealing new traits and protections, including immunity to spirit corruption and enhanced summoning abilities. He realizes the test is less about qualification and more about measuring his true threat level. Watching others struggle, Leo recalls how the system once treated him as disposable. Meanwhile, other test participants grow impatient, unaware of Leo's unique status. Officials begin whispering, realizing his certification could disrupt established hierarchies. Attention turns to Mike, a high-level battler, who complains about delays and questions the process. When he learns Leo is being prioritized, shock spreads among the applicants. Even seasoned fighters begin to understand that Leo operates on an entirely different scale. Mike is introduced as a notorious battle maniac, drawing attention as his turn approaches. As the crowd buzzes, a suited man reports the chaos around them and directly asks if Mike has already gotten the number. Mike casually replies that he was just about to, brushing it off as the situation escalates nearby. Mike notices someone ignoring him and reacts with irritation, loudly calling out and mocking the bespectacled man. When Leo responds, Mike confidently demands the number, only to be met with resistance. Irritated but amused, Mike accepts the challenge with a grin, flames flaring as he prepares to act. Mike releases an overwhelming aura, declaring he'll teach Leo some manners. He strikes without restraint, forcing Leo to his knees as onlookers panic. The sudden violence shocks everyone, especially as Mike's power crushes the space between them. Despite the pressure, Leo calmly retaliates, unleashing a strange green spiritual force. Mike immediately recognizes him and is sent flying in a single blow. The crowd freezes in disbelief as Mike is defeated instantly. Officials rush in, stunned by what they just witnessed. A woman observes closely, realizing that Leo defeated a level A in one strike. The implication sinks in that his true ability far exceeds expectations. The scene shifts to the job test, explaining the official certification process for job holders. The test represents recognition beyond raw combat power, serving as proof of legitimacy within the system. Certification promises resources, stability, and future advancement. The cooperative announces its search for extraordinary individuals and initiates the test. As the system activates, something immediately goes wrong. The machine fails to certify him, triggering confusion and alarm. Chaos breaks out as people argue over the malfunction. Leo reflects calmly, recognizing the situation as something familiar from his past. Observers begin questioning his background, noting the lack of official approval despite what they've seen. The test proceeds deeper as data is measured, but abnormalities spike across the system. Technicians panic as the readings become unstable. The results clearly exceed expected parameters. Green spiritual energy erupts uncontrollably from Leo, shocking everyone present. Officials confirm the results. He is level F, but with abnormal spiritual power. As disbelief spreads while checking the breakdown of his abilities, Leo realizes that he is experiencing that same thing Mena experienced before. A senior official reviews the results and realizes Leo's spiritual power is abnormal and unrestrainable. Mike's evaluation reveals a shocking result. He is classified as a unique job holder, with every stat marked abnormal and his spiritual power listed as unlimited. As the officials discuss summon limits, it's revealed that even undead sorcerers can only control around a dozen monsters, and anything beyond that becomes difficult to manage. However, Mike's summoned creatures are clearly different, growing stronger over time, raising the terrifying possibility that he could even control a boss-level monster. Jenna notes that, for now, Mike is the only confirmed level F+ individual, while another points out that Suzu's power is immeasurable and has even drawn the attention of a saint. Realizing what it would take to control such monsters, the suited man concludes that it makes sense to take Mike in as a pupil, prompting discussion on whether to redo the measurement or simply record him as level F+. The officials agree that Leo's abilities are clearly unnatural, citing his power to summon and command hordes of monsters while even manipulating their appearance. They question whether he is truly human, especially since he keeps a boss monster under control, and speculate that lingering traces of corrupted spiritual power might still be present. Leo tests his spiritual energy, relieved when it stabilizes without causing further damage. Cleanup crews arrive as Leo is escorted away, joking internally about how the aftermath feels like a crime scene. Nearby, Mike scoffs at the situation, unimpressed and convinced Kane is just an ordinary guy, unaware of the danger he truly represents. When asked what to do next, Mike proposes ambushing Leo, arguing that abilities like his don't appear every day. Despite noting that Leo doesn't currently have monsters with him, the group agrees it's the perfect time to act and quietly begins planning. Leo exits the room, catching the attention of the group waiting outside. Mike approaches first, warning others to be careful as he confronts Leo directly, pointing out his injury and demanding an explanation, clearly looking for trouble. Feigning politeness, Mike suddenly asks Leo to let him land just one hit, immediately launching a violent charge. Leo calmly steps back, calling the attack dangerous, while Mike powers up and presses forward, convinced Leo has already lost. Mike unleashes the full power of a level A strike, sending shockwaves through the area. Staff members panic and shout for the fight to stop, but the clash only escalates as green energy erupts outward, leaving everyone stunned by the overwhelming force released. Wrapped in swirling green spiritual power, Leo stands unharmed, prompting shocked reactions from onlookers. Minna senses the disturbance and identifies Leo as the source of the chaos, while Mike points at Leo for starting the chaos. Minna is stunned after seeing Leo, while he calmly explains that he came to take the job test. Recognizing his name and power, Mike decides to back off for now, sensing that provoking Leo further would be a fatal mistake. Minna thinks he wants to join the cooperative, but he clarifies that he got admitted against his will, shocking Minna. The staff considers calling reinforcements, but they're stopped when it's revealed that Getsurin City's superstar, Minna, is already here. As chaos spreads, a woman intervenes and orders the fight to stop inside the cooperative. She pulls Leo aside, insisting they need to talk, and questions why he came here in the first place. The woman hesitates, then explains she came looking for St. Morin's student. Leo realizes she has found him, but her sudden appearance draws shocked reactions from Mike and the others. Officials whisper in disbelief as they confirm through media reports that the boy really is Morin's disciple. Leo is suddenly swarmed by reporters demanding his job level, dungeon clears, and his connection to Mena. The interrogation escalates until the scene abruptly shifts, revealing the aftermath of the blood-hunting event unfolding elsewhere in the city. Amid the ruins, Eric lies injured and notices a strange coin embedded in his chest. A soldier casually snatches it, brushing it off as junk, unaware of its value. Moments later, the coin activates, its effect triggering as Eric's body begins to recover. System messages reveal the coin's power, restoring the dead and cleansing debuffs. Leo's wounds rapidly heal as stunned soldiers watch him rise again. Reborn and glowing with power, Eric scolds them for stealing his things while effortlessly reclaiming control of the situation. Eric decides it's time to test his strength further and summons a blade-like ability. In one swift motion, he attacks, sending enemies flying as body parts are severed midair. Watching the destruction, Eric calmly admits the results are even better than he expected. Enraged by the loss of his revival coin, Eric lashes out, dropping multiple opponents in seconds. Observers stare in disbelief as reports confirm he defeated Battle Maniac Mike in a single blow. Standing in the spotlight, Eric asserts himself as an undeniable force. The chaos reaches Black Owl Company, where subordinates report urgently. Tension fills the room as their leader prepares to intervene, revealing his identity as Hayato, the CEO of Black Owl Company, and hinting at his long-standing resentment. Officials confirm Getzerin City's unique dungeon has ended, but suspicions arise that Leo was being used. Hayato studies Leo's rise with interest, noting how a former nobody has suddenly shaken the system. Watching the aftermath, he admits Leo has guts. As orders are given, an attack suddenly erupts, catching everyone off guard. Violence explodes across the room, blood spraying as someone is struck down in brutal fashion. The chapter ends with the situation spiraling out of control, signaling even greater conflict ahead. A violent surge of power erupts, sending the man flying and instantly silencing the room. With glowing eyes, he coldly orders the troublemaker brought to him, making it clear he's done tolerating interference. Crimson energy wraps around his body as he warns that, if the truth comes out today, the consequences will be deadly. Covered in blood, he steps forward to make sure the message is fully understood. Katsu panics and quickly agrees. Desperate to survive, he leaves the scene alone, wounded trailing behind him as the doors close. Later, Hayato sits quietly and asks how to stabilize his condition, admitting in his thoughts that failure would leave him no choice but to use force. Back in the room, Mina comments that Leo has now become a major player. He reflects on how no one warned him about dealing with this kind of trouble. The mood shifts as someone teases him for going missing, even pinching his cheeks. Another leans in playfully, pushing the joke too far, until Suzu suddenly snaps and shouts for them to stop. She angrily pushes Mena away, clearly asserting herself. The tension quickly turns comedic as the teasing is brushed off. He cautiously reaches out to offer help, but Suzu reacts with eager excitement, extending her arm. He politely refuses, choosing caution instead. Suzu immediately brightens and smiles widely. He adjusts his glasses and dismisses the moment as nothing serious. A system screen appears, revealing the Blood Hunter event reward. He notes that while the reward is valuable, luck played a large role. Wolfman appears, showing items he failed to obtain. Leo recalls defeating Eric and taking his staff, then asks if anything else was recovered. She corrects him, emphasizing it was a wolf, not a dog, and explains the remaining items were given to someone else to hold on to. Rua then appears, instantly drawing his attention. Suspicious, Mena asks who the woman is while Leo reveals her identity. Suzu then proudly presents another recovered item and reveals she also found the other white piece. Both items are shown together, confirming they're intact. It's revealed that Doll's real body was present all along. They identify the object as a doll-type item, and a close-up shows hands connecting as it activates. Leo praises Suzu for her work, leaving Suzu visibly proud and pleased. A call interrupts them, announcing an unexpected visitor. They inform him that someone has come specifically to see him. A screen activates, revealing Katsu from Black Owl, who threatens to expose everything they know. He demands an item in exchange for his silence. Tension fills the room as the threat sinks in. He smirks, realizing this situation could work in their favor. Suzu excitedly agrees to the plan. The scene then shifts outside to a tall building at dusk, where someone arrives and steps forward as the meeting begins. As they walk together, she questions what he plans to do next and why he brought her along. Morin calmly declares that she will personally look after her student and refuses to let him die. She confidently assures everyone to leave it to her. Another woman steps in, explaining that the saint entrusted her with his protection and promises not to interfere, especially now that his identity has been confirmed. Leo notices that Morin already made arrangements with Mena in advance, finding the situation suspicious but choosing to move forward anyway. Inside the building, the staff report that the guest has arrived along with a woman. After confirming the situation, Hayato calmly orders them to be brought in. The meeting begins with formal thanks for coming. Attention quickly shifts to Mena, prompting questions about her identity. She awkwardly tries to explain herself before he casually introduces her as his secretary. Hayato notes that this must be one of the perks of being St. Morin's student and immediately shifts the topic to their unfinished deal. Leo questions whether there's been a misunderstanding regarding the items. When it's revealed the items were already handed over, tension spikes. One of the subordinates suddenly lashes out and is immediately stopped, warned not to speak to the boss that way. The room falls silent as the outburst is shut down. The man scoffs at the idea that he's a Saint's student and considers roughing him up. He hesitates, realizing things could spiral out of control if the boss gets involved. The boss steps in, warning him not to get cocky. A hint is dropped about the blood hunting dungeon and Rua's involvement, catching the boss's interest. Rua is revealed, along with the fact that she made off with the spoils that were supposed to be handed over. The boss orders Katsu to connect the call. The scene shifts to a bar, where Rua calmly answers and greets him directly. Rua politely asks to discuss the items taken from Amike Leo. When pressed for details, she denies knowing anything specific at first. Suzu confirms that Rua is the one who secured the items and held on to them. The boss acknowledges this and decides to deal with the kid directly, noting his status as a job holder. The boss warns that unnecessary trouble would damage the company's image. After a brief pause, he admits that the concern is valid. He then asks to speak privately, requesting the others leave them alone. Despite brief hesitation, the request is accepted and the room clears out. Once alone, the boss directly asks what he wants to talk about. He questions the nature of Suzu's relationship with him and claims she tried to influence him for protection. Suzu pushes back, telling him to ask her directly. The boss snaps at him to drop the attitude and reminds him not to forget his position. Hayato reveals that he is a special job holder, releasing a heavy pressure that fills the room. Unfazed, he calmly acknowledges it. He agrees to the discussion and promises to give him what he wants. He then presents a solution that can stabilize his condition without killing anyone. The boss questions whether he's really willing to hand it over so easily. A sealed container is revealed, described as a rare stabilizing material. As the cost sinks in, the pressure rises again. The boss leans in, asking Leo if he's willing to do business. He explains that if the stabilizing item starts circulating, special job holders will inevitably clash over it, turning him into a target. To avoid that outcome, he lays out two choices: either keep the boss cooperative or find a buyer he can trust. Despite it being unlicensed, he insists the product's effectiveness matters more and urges the boss to test it himself. After examining the item, the boss agrees to give it a try. The boss activates his power, and a violent surge of red energy erupts around him. The pressure explodes outward, shaking the entire building and stunning everyone nearby. Shock waves tear through the surroundings as the force reaches the outside. From afar, the blast is visible as the attack finally detonates. Mena screams Leo's name as the sudden outburst unfolds. Others react in confusion as green energy answers the red pressure. Katsu recognizes the power as spiritual in nature. The realization hits hard when the identity behind it becomes clear, revealing Getsuren City's superstar Mena. Katsu is briefly restrained as the chaos settles. Mena steps forward and looks for Leo, until Hayato clarifies if she is really Mena. He reveals that he has already dealt with Leo, shocking Mena instantly. Mena unleashes her power fully, declaring that he will pay for provoking her. The boss acknowledges the display, calling it impressive. Leo suddenly reassures her to stay calm, while he notes she has already achieved liberation and reveals his intent to fight Hayato directly to test his strength, while Mena asks if he is really okay. Hayato accuses him of investigating her in advance. He calmly deflects, saying it's only in the interest of mutual understanding. While examining the stabilizer again, he notes its effects are temporary but sufficient. He proposes a partnership instead of conflict, shifting the negotiation forward. The boss's subordinates rush in, worried about his condition. He orders them to stand down and confirms his decision to do business. Terms are laid out clearly, with profits split heavily in Leo's favor. The deal is sealed as they shake hands. The meeting ends with mutual acknowledgement, and they part ways. Outside, the boss reflects on why he agreed to the deal. He tests the stabilizer again, feeling his power settle as promised. With control restored, he prepares to act without restraint. The boss cautions against celebrating too early, sensing unresolved danger. He realizes the power is not entirely his, and that uncertainty troubles him. He warns that Leo may have set them up from the start. Rumors surface about a unique monster incident tied to Getsuren City's dungeon, drawing saint-level attention. A saint appears, revealing she deliberately released her spiritual power to assess Leo's true ability. The boss recalls sensing an overwhelming force within him at that moment. Comparing all gathered intelligence, he concludes Leo is far more dangerous than expected. Watching from a distance, Katsu acknowledges that Leo possesses an ability unlike anyone else. Hayato explains that Leo not only knows the secrets of the dungeons but is also seeking support outside the cooperative, making him extremely valuable. Convinced of his worth, he decides to invest in him immediately and orders his men to proceed. The scene cuts to a few hours earlier at a job holder club in Getsuren City, where Mike warns that since Leo is now a Saint student, they cannot act recklessly. A decision is made to recruit high-level job holders, but it's clear Leo is hiding something so important that even a saint wants to uncover it. The room erupts in laughter, but Mike immediately takes offense and demands to know who dares mock him. His expression twists with rage as he snaps back, warning them not to toy with him. Nearby, Eric casually sits with a relaxed smile, clearly unfazed by the tension. The mood shifts sharply when a sudden impact cracks against the floor, signaling that patience has run out. Mike bristles and demands to know what's so funny as his killing intent surges. Before he can act, armed men storm in and label Eric an uninvited guest, ordering him to leave at once. He calmly recognizes Mike, hinting they've crossed paths before, which leaves him visibly stunned. The tension spikes as both sides size each other up. Kane panics and shouts for them to seize Eric immediately. The men rush forward, but Leo watches with amusement rather than fear. In the next instant, he activates his skill and effortlessly disables them mid-charge. Golden energy flashes as the attackers collapse one after another. Mike reels in disbelief as his men are taken down instantly. Shock spreads across the room while Leo casually tells them to calm down, claiming he barely did anything. The power gap becomes impossible to ignore. Kane praises Eric's strength and questions why someone like him is here. Eric explains that he's interested in their organization and also wants to deal with matters related to the Saints student. He proposes working together, suggesting they join hands. The men exchange looks, clearly tempted by the offer. The scene shifts to a car ride as they discuss job holder rankings. Mina casually mentions being evaluated at level S, which visibly stuns the others. The conversation turns to a woman with overwhelming green energy, speculating about the source of her power. They conclude her strength cannot be replicated through ordinary means. They arrive at an address provided by the Black Owl Company and confirm they're looking for someone specific. Leo senses someone powerful nearby and assures them he can handle things if needed. Inside, Rua casually drinks, drawing attention with her presence alone. The group notices her heavy drinking, but she brushes it off and asks for more. Leo approaches her, saying he finally found her, which leaves her visibly startled. She turns to face him as he greets her with a familiar smile. Leo confirms if she is happy to see him, but Rua snaps back sharply. Anai moves forward, declaring that anyone who wants her must go through him first, but this only angers Rua. They sit around the table as accusations fly, with Rua questioning whether Leo stole her loot. He responds calmly, prompting further suspicion about her identity. As realizations dawn, the word rival hangs heavy in the air, ending the scene with unresolved tension. She raises her hands and asks everyone to stop fighting, sensing the hostile mood sinking perfectly. Rua casually suggests returning the loot, clearly testing his reaction. He warns Suzu that there's a dangerous woman here and tells her to stay away. Suzu cheerfully agrees, calling Rua another bad woman. Rua snaps back angrily, accusing him of filling Suzu's head with nonsense. The situation cools as they sit down to calm the tension. A man suddenly approaches and politely asks if Leo is present. Leo looks up in confusion as the visitor confirms he was sent by someone who trusts him. As he starts to explain, a strange blue power manifests nearby, immediately drawing everyone's attention. The power crashes down violently, sending debris flying through the area. Leo and the others are caught in the shock as Rua reacts in alarm. A massive impact shakes the floor and blasts smoke everywhere. Moments later, the attacker declares that it's already over as the dust begins to settle. Elsewhere, a deal is finalized as payment is approved and transferred immediately. The man smirks, confident he will profit greatly from Leo. Back at the scene, the attacker laughs as the outcome becomes clear. A massive creature looms over the area, drawing everyone's attention. Footsteps echo through the smoke as someone calmly walks forward. Green tendrils suddenly lash out, wrapping around multiple figures at once. The restrained men are slammed violently into the air. The overwhelming power leaves no room for resistance. The man freezes as he finally recognizes the source of the power. Mena steps forward, glowing as she questions whether they are human or monsters in disguise. Rua panics when she realizes both Suzu and Leo are gone. Mena senses the shift instantly, her eyes widening as something has gone terribly wrong. Mena confronts Rua, questioning if this chaos is her doing, but she denies knowing the attackers and snaps back at her. Anai suggests regrouping, yet the situation worsens as it's revealed the attackers plan to grab Suzu too. Before anyone can react, vines surge forward and chase them down the corridor. Mena steps in, intercepting the attackers as her eyes glow with power. She unleashes a wave of energy that blasts through the group, striking from multiple angles and forcing them back. Blue lightning tears through the hallway as she presses the attack without hesitation. Rua watches closely and acknowledges the power gap, ordering the others to find Leo and Suzu while she handles this. Mena finishes the exchange and mutters that she hopes it doesn't escalate further, though the damage is already done. The attackers are thrown aside with ease, leaving the area quiet. Elsewhere, Leo is already captured, restrained inside a vehicle as Suzu wakes up and calls out to him. He gently hushes her, trying to keep her calm. Leo regains consciousness under restraint, warned not to try anything as his abilities are suppressed. His captors discuss his strange powers, noting that grafting monster abilities shouldn't be possible, especially for someone tied to Black Owl. He demands to know why they captured him and whether this is about money. Before tensions settle, someone arrives, insisting on speaking with Leo himself. A sinister smile forms as another figure steps forward. Wrapped in golden energy, Mike declares his reunion and reminds Leo that he still owes him a punch. Leo expresses his shock after seeing Mike. He laughs loudly and boasts with absolute confidence as he prepares his move. Leo responds calmly, explaining without showing any concern. Mike declares that his magic formation is strong enough to block even a level A attack. Golden energy gathers as he swings down with full force. The attack surges forward, flooding the space with overwhelming pressure. Suzu's eyes glow red as she reacts instantly to the incoming strike. A violent red aura erupts as she steps in and blocks the attack head-on. The collision explodes outward, shaking the entire area. Mike is blasted away and crashes into the surroundings. Crimson spills from his mouth as he struggles to steady himself. Mike staggers back in shock, unable to process what just happened. Suzu stands firmly in front of Leo, protecting him. He calmly states that Suzu belongs to him. He adds that the situation could have ended if Mike had backed off. Suzu's red energy flares again, filling the area with pressure. The onlookers realize the situation is far more dangerous than expected. Support staff urgently call for backup as the pressure continues to rise. Eric senses a familiar monster presence nearby. Others recognize the power as a monster's spiritual energy from a dungeon. Rua looks uneasy, questioning where the influence is coming from. With a heavy impact, Eric lands ahead of everyone. Someone stares at him, realizing they have seen his face before. Rua reveals her black dragon form. She immediately orders the others to follow her. Her team responds at once and moves after her. Red mist spreads as Suzu's presence dominates the battlefield. Leo remarks that this is enough for now. Enemies are flung aside as the clash expands. Mike roars in rage and charges again despite his injuries. He lunges forward, refusing to retreat. Mike declares confidently that no one can take him down. Leo coldly shuts him down, calling his rampage meaningless. A sharp strike cuts through the air in response. Eric laughs wildly as dust and smoke fill the scene. He steps forward and announces that he is back. Suzu appears shocked as Leo questions how he is still alive. Eric explains that although he died once, his power is not limited to a single life. Blue energy erupts around him as he declares himself a savior. Shadowy monsters surge forward, responding to his presence. Another fighter arrives and announces that dealing with Suzu comes first. Watching closely, Leo begins to understand what savior truly means. A system message appears, warning of a summoned monster countdown. He calmly opens a holographic interface while assessing the situation. Mike leaps down again with another empowered strike. A green-tinged counterattack slams into him mid-air. Leo calls out to Suzu, urging her not to interfere. She snarls and charges anyway, refusing to stand aside. He quickly realizes that she can influence monsters directly. With a sharp command, he drives her back and asserts control. The clash echoes through the area as the situation spirals further out of control. Eric confidently tells his opponent to take a good look at his power. Golden energy gathers around his hand as he prepares an attack. A massive blast erupts and tears through the space ahead. Watching from a distance, he senses something strange about the power involved. He immediately shouts for Suzu to dodge. Mike lunges forward and strikes him head-on, landing a heavy blow. He snarls angrily, mocking him for relying on a monster. Suzu rushes in, reaching out while calling for him. Her eyes glow red as her emotions surge. Others nearby scramble and shout in panic as the clash intensifies. Mike presses the attack and demands answers while swinging wildly. A system alert activates, signaling a summon in progress. He roars in pain as a counterattack lands cleanly. The surrounding men charge in, trying to overwhelm their target. They shout that they have the advantage in numbers. Suzu snarls and tells them to stay out of the way. Leo calmly tells Suzu to leave them to him. He dashes forward, weaving through attacks with controlled movements. Golden and blue energy swirl together as summons continue increasing. Another system message confirms the summoning is complete. He spins midair, narrowly avoiding an incoming strike. Turning back, he calmly asks a question about revival while keeping his guard up. A warning flashes as a fused monster is summoned. A massive tentacled creature emerges, towering over the area. Its presence overwhelms everyone nearby. Suzu struggles against the chaos as the monster's pressure spreads. Leo casually retrieves a glowing ring-like object. He pauses and looks to the side, sensing familiar presences. Spotting them, he realizes the others have arrived. He asks if anyone else came with them. Rua responds dismissively, explaining only 2 of them came. A strange purple distortion suddenly forms in the air. The scene shifts as a mental world begins to manifest. Suzu appears beside him within this space, still calling out to him. A towering woman reveals herself as part of the Apparition Association. Leo says he remembers her but remains cautious. The mysterious figure declares that they have come to serve him.